There we go. That's my number 2. And yeah, Gareth, we know you're number 1, but what's your number 2?
Well, my number 2. Don't want to upset you again, Benno.
Well, it's only one of 3 possibilities, and they're all going to upset me. So I've been braced for this whole show.
Well, it's not CM Punk. It's Michael Shawn Hickenbottom. Shawn Michaels, as we all know and love him by. Well, I didn't realise this was just in-ring, so I've just gone for just everything. As far as I was concerned, there was no rules.
I borrowed a bit with Flair.
It was just most hated. So, first of all, I hate that stupid surname. I just think it's hilarious that's his
Michael's
surname.
Hickenbottom.
Well, Hickenbottom. I think it's hilarious that the sexy boy is Hickenbottom. Lovely, but I hate him losing his smile. I hate his refusal to give us championships the right way. I hate his bullshit back injury. I hate his fake finding of God. I hate that fucking teenage photo of him dressed up like Ric Flair on the cover of PWI, holding the copy of PWI in front of him with his stupid cut that he's put on his head. I hate the fact that he's internally associated and is a stain on Bret Hart's career. I hate him pulling his tights down to the pube line in front of kids. I hate the way that he cut the legs off Vader.
All right, Brett.
I hate the way that he cut the legs off the Blackheart Owen Hart. I hate the way that he tried to hold The Rock down and he was trying not to have to do the job to Steve at Mania because he could see the writing on the wall with both of them, that they were both bigger stars and better than him and they were going to be bigger than he ever could be, sort of thing. So he was trying to politic his way out of both of them and hold one of them down. I hate his ridiculous, whiny, petulant in-ring antics when things like that don't go his own way, and he can't have his fucking own way with Vince McMahon, so he has to do a job, or he has to put somebody over, or somebody gets to main event ahead of him, so he decides to go out to the ring and act like an utter twat and make an absolute twat of himself in front of everybody else because he's never been fucking disciplined in his life or something like that, and he has to spit his dummy out. I hate him pretending to get battered by 200 Marines instead of the one guy who actually did batter him because he's an absolute fucking shit out in real life. I hate him losing his smile. I think I've said that already, but I still hate him again losing his smile. I hate his treatment of Chris Candido, like while he was fucking Sonny behind his back and been an absolute gobshite to Chris Candido. I then hate the Sunny Days comment that he says on TV to Brett because, like, he's the one fucking banging Sunny, not Brett. I hate I'm Sorry I Love You and the impact that had on wrestling for the next 20 years in terms of all that bullshit that goes on in the ring, which he always attributes to in any interview as him being like, oh, it's my artsy-fartsy like approach to wrestling. It should be like artsy-shartsy because it's absolute shit, mate, and you shouldn't be on wrestling at all. Speaking of which, I hate them brown kecks that he wore that time. Speaking of gear, I hate that fucking Right Said Fred tribute I'm too sexy for this crowd vest that he wore at WrestleMania 8. I hate his tight pulled over his belly button when he was a fat cunt trying to bulk up, so he had to pull his pants halfway up to hide that. I hate that at that time he had that shitty haircut where he had like no sideburns that were just like spirit level, like totally across there to go with his spiky on top and his long ridiculous mullet at the back. I hate his disrespect for all of the workers who are in the clique, just treating everyone like utter shit throughout that time period and thinking he was the main man. I hate him telling Brett to get out of his fucking ring at the end of that Iron Man match like an absolute gobshite when Brett's done the honours for him that he wouldn't do for Brett. I hate his insistence on winning that European title in the UK, like, and then only to fucking lie down and give it to his best mate Paul like a few weeks later after Bulldog's been forced to lose the title in front of his dying sister in the UK. I hate his primitive booking that morons wank themselves into a silly stupor over because it's got the initials WWE attached to it from an NXT standpoint. I hate his Marty Feldman eyes. I hate his Albert Steptoe face that he's got now, and I hate his Roy Munson hair. And he probably should have been my number 1, so it's probably better that he went last.
I was going to say,
That's incredible. Please clip this.
Unbelievable.
Saying that, if we'd have gone least favourite wrestlers, he wouldn't have been in my 5 because I'd still rather watch his matches than a lot of other lads. But if you're going to throw hate into the mix, he's getting it both barrels.
Euphoria, the Gareth Matty remix.
I ate his dog, I ate his cat, I ate his mum, I ate his dad, I ate Jose Lothario for training him, I hate Texas, I hate San Antonio. Look, I went on a bit there, didn't I?
Oh, mate.
The best thing was when I put it to the Euphoria instrumental, it was literally the same length. I really didn't have to cut anything. I cut about 20 seconds from the end. It was perfect.
That's amazing.
What's Euphoria?
So there's this beef going on with Kendrick and Drake. Basically, there's a moment in that song where he goes on about, I hate the way you look, I hate the way that you dress, and it goes on like that. That's exactly what you sounded like. You were channeling Kendrick from last month. Brilliant.
That is the best of all time. Great work there, Benno, mate. Fucking classic.
All time stuff. People saying best rant in grapple history, and then somehow he was number 2. Gareth, how'd that happen?
You see, if I was in my mind though, I was like, if I was put on a desert island and I had to watch matches of one person, I'd still watch Shawn over Bray Wyatt. So yeah, that's why Bray got the number 1 spot. So as strong as that hate is, there's at least he's got the matches over Bray. But yeah, wrong way around, wasn't it? Should have been my number 1. He was my number 1, beautiful. Really, wasn't he? Because I've got only on the Bray stuff.
Somebody said then I'll have to edit an outro now with me just having to go with cheese at the end. I have to find a way to work that in. But hi Sadie. But yeah, we're going to be keeping it quite relaxed tonight, aren't we, Matty? Yep. Kind of pre-show, main show might kind of flow into each other a little bit. You guys have been busy at work, both filling in for me and now filling in with JP off on his jollies as well. Though don't have to take it easy on you this week, lads. No homework, just a chat, lads in the pub, the grapple lads in the pub. That's what I'm calling this one this week.
Gareth, what's it like, mate? Now this is like just easy stuff in it now, mate. Me and you every week now, Gareth. What's going on?
We're just regulars now. Like I said, remember when I retired in 2022?
There's no way to worm you back in full time.
Full time. I'm looking for reduced hours at the minute.
0 hour contracts going on.
We'll talk your pay contracts at the end of it. But yeah, should we get into the honourable mentions, Matty? Like I say, the pre-show's kind of blend. This is kind of the main show. I'll just throw it in. This is Spotlight, the official podcast of Grapple and Benno. That's Matty, that's Gareth. We've done it now, it's sorted. Blade lines this week, Matty, but we haven't.
Robin Fick stuff, Benno, yeah?
Yeah,
I hate Shawn Michaels.
Oh, you'll have heard that, mate. I'm putting that on every version of the file. But yeah, we need to do our 5 to 1 honourable mentions, don't we, for most hated wrestlers, Matty? We had so much hate coming out on the show, we didn't get it all in.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I literally, I feel bad for Samoa Joe in a way because I only had 4 down.
Yeah, because you're wrong.
I had to go.
Have you ever heard, Gareth? Have you ever heard someone having an all-time year in a wrestling career of like 8 of the greatest matches in wrestling history taking place in about 12 months, described as, you had one good year. He's all right.
How many fans were they in front of combined? About
what does that matter, you fucking dickhead? How many fans were there for half a Roman Reigns run? Piss off.
Thousands. But I've just never got it. Honestly, I don't hate him. That's what I'm saying about this. I don't hate Samoa Joe. He had to fill a number. I've just never got it. I've never got him, never got the aura, just never got the character at all. And I've seen some of his in his prime stuff, Benno, and that was all right, yeah. But the way people go on about it, like these all time, though,
they are.
What are we talking about? Like,
they're some of the best matches in wrestling history.
What are we talking about? Like seriously, like it's like a wind up. That's what it is.
Because he wasn't pushed by the WWE. Suppose he must be crap. Whatever. Anyway, I wanted to talk other stuff. We already had that argument. Come on, you're wrong. We're right.
I've got no others. To be honest, that was my whole point before you jumped in. It was that I had no more like. To be honest,
any borderline ones? Anyway, you're like, well, I don't like them, but I couldn't say I hate them, type of thing.
People like Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, they're all like we always say.
Workers.
Just the typical like in the Chavo mold of like I mentioned on the show, it like. Don't really, not like, but just boring, bland, just don't see anything in them type thing, like, but they've had long, successful careers. That's the thing, like.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same, boring 3-star wrestlers like Randy Orton, Edge, Seth Rollins. I didn't feel a hatred enough to put them in. It was like, when it came down to it, maybe I'm just mellowing out in my old age, Matty, maybe that's what it is, but I'm kind of like, he's like, Randy Orton, I'm kind of enjoying this year. Edge is there's been bits of, like you, Gareth, I'm not fully turned on him. I'm not like in the Christian zone with him yet, but I've been all right with the stuff he's contributed in AEW. He's been pretty inoffensive, so it's like, well, I still don't like large swathe of his career. Hate would be too strong a word. Seth Rollins, I just couldn't possibly feel strongly about. Like, who feels strongly about Seth Rollins? Nobody. He's 3.25 star wrestler who has 3.25 star matches. I would say promos too, but he has got a couple of decent ones over recent weeks as well. So I feel bad kind of throwing.
I'm getting worried about you.
Close. I'm getting old, mate. That's what it is.
Love Stu, love Chef. What's going on, Gareth?
Definitely don't love Seth.
I was pleased when he came back last week and he was putting the boot in, because before he went away, I was thinking he's getting too fucking
getting soft.
WWE brained here. I don't know what's happening to him. All him sitting up late nights watching Raw. It's taking the effect. But the Benno I know and love was back last week. That was
good.
He just needed that little break. He just needed that little trip.
It was like when I saw people talking about like the Trump what was it, the Republican conference this week, going, oh, the atmosphere, and I was like, yeah, that's what I felt like. Was that Money in the Bank? Felt like the same thing. Oh, the atmosphere. But it's for this. Yeah, it's for the evil side. I felt like
what a waste. What a waste that is, Benno. Like, waste of
I had a good time. I did. But I was going to say Kane was another one I was going to throw in, but I did Big Show already, and it would have just been the same. I would have said the exact same
wrestler
thing about Kane that I said about Big Show, pretty much. Don't know if there was any you were feeling strong about, Gareth.
Some of my close ones that were probably more fell into my least favourite category kind of thing than hated. So I had like Dino Bravo in there, who just like I just always hated as a kid, like just terrible matches, terrible promo, terrible look. Everything about him was just like I just hated. I don't know why he was even there on telly. So he came close, but again, I couldn't put up a strong enough, long enough argument there. Couple that I had like again on the fringes, a bit like that, was like Tatanka. I never liked Tatanka. I don't know if you've got any strong feelings otherwise, but he just like, I thought he was shit when he was the babyface at first. I thought he fucking did my head in. He was shit when he turned heel with Ted DiBiase, and he just seemed to just crop up a bit. And I was just like, why him? Why Tatanka? Why is he the guy who like keeps getting the comeback? So that was somebody that I hated. And then one who Matty definitely won't agree with, who came very close to my 5, is Crush. Every incarnation of Crush.
What's going on, Gareth?
But yeah, you'd be getting the old Chronic T-shirt out there and go mad at me, mate. So
Kona Crush, Jailbird Crush, DOA Crush. How many do you want?
Demolition Crush.
Demolition Crush.
He would have been your Ed Leslie, basically the same intro, wouldn't it, for him? He's one where he was definitely an IWC hate figure at one point, wasn't he? But like it's like there was a point where 90s, like, oh, who'd you hate? Bryan Adams, Lex Luger. It was all the guys that like Finn Martin told you couldn't wear. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the influence, isn't it? That's where it comes from. But yeah, I had to feel like I was going to say like British wrestlers in general was going to be one for me, but then I included Regal. But like as a kid. And I hated Davey Boy for it as well. I just hated the idea if you were a British wrestler, you had to have a stupid British flag on your pants and that be your thing. You couldn't just be a wrestler like everybody else. It used to wind me up. Probably like the origin of me Regal hate, who, by the way, I did feel like when I listened back, I didn't get enough of the real life stuff in there. He's fucking responsible for the fucking Blackpool Combat Club as well, isn't he? And that slimy little bastard weaseling his way back into WWE, killing our indies with NXT UK. Could have thrown that in there as well. Actually, like with your show one, got it down. Feeling like Regal should have been my number 1. But again, I think I've just gotten the hate out. It's already out there in the ether. But yeah, there's a few there. Tommy Bellandon says, yeah, I did have him on my short list as one. More of an irritant than a hate.
I considered Jeff Hardy. That was another one that was in the mix with me as well.
Oh yeah, you do. I'm not a
Jeff Hardy fan.
Oh, you don't like Jeff Hardy, do you? Yeah. I was going to say Liam.
Charismatic enigma. The only enigma being that people think he's got charisma.
Liam's put JBL in here, but you love JBL going to be in Phil's best mate, don't you?
Fuck, I am getting old, aren't I? We'll do that deep cut, we'll decide. I still don't think the matches are going to hold up, mate. Stevie Ray's a good one. Yeah, Stevie Ray's a good one. Never liked him. I think when I first started watching WCW, I think I preferred him in Harlem Heat just because he was the bigger brother, and I was an older brother. And then I finally realised that he's shite. And Booker T.
Love that logic, though.
It's one of them when you're a kid, isn't it? Yeah. Who would I be if I was in this tag team? Finn Balor,
that's who you be.
Yeah, with the gloves. Matt Hardy one got thrown in there a little bit in there.
I tell you what would have been in mind, Benno. One's come to me mind, but he's been all right the last couple of years since he's been in the Judgment Day. Finn Balor would have definitely been in mind about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Just another one.
3.25 star, didn't he?
Oh, mate, like... But he has shown a little bit more in Judgment Day. He's a bit fun, he's a bit comedic now, so he's all right.
Oh, even I wouldn't agree with that. I've never liked him, and like JP, he'll bring up the Island top only from like Wrestle Kingdom and stuff. That was just slightly before my time of properly getting into New Japan, so and I don't really have that nostalgia kind of for that run. Maybe if I go back and watch it at some point, I'll change my mind. But he was doing a lot over here, wasn't he, during that period, like PCW, and he came to Infinite and did Liverpool, Rev Pro. Still didn't really, didn't
that's why I was warm to him, was because of that kind of seeing him then in that setting and him feeling like this big star, and it was like, fucking hell, like, I'm watching him with 100 other people or something like that, and he's this massive global name, right now, so that's why I'll always have that kind of, like, I don't know, feeling. I remember being chuffed when he was he the first Universal Champion, or was he won it?
First one, Gareth.
He had to give it up like the next day or something like that. I was made up when he won that belt, and then I don't think I've liked him ever since. To be honest, I think that was the last. That was the peak.
I was gonna say there should be we should have done a special category, Matty, for like sacred cows who like I couldn't say I hate, I couldn't say they're the worst, but I'd say I'm the low man on. Like, and there's a few of them. Like, I threatened to put Eddie Guerrero on my one. Claudio's another one. Like, it's like, I recognise in front of me is a good in-ring wrestler who everybody rates him. I don't think they're wrong. I just don't enjoy him. I've never enjoyed him. And I've always pushed back on he should be a main eventer. No, he's in the right spot in WWE and in AEW. That's where that man should be. Decent undercard actor. People go way, way too far on it. Don't think the world's ready for the Eddie Guerrero conversation, Matty.
Don't you like that bit in Cesaro's matches where he grabs his opponent's legs and swings them round? Don't you like that one? Fucking hell. Never got Cesaro. He's good, as you say, but that thing, he should have been the world champion. That'll be a comment that'll haunt me forever. He shouldn't have been. He had a great career. He should never have been the guy and the world champion ever.
But I probably got worn out on him in like ROH and Chikara and stuff like doing like Nancy Brit Res stuff. It was like, doing a little fucking dance routine with Chris Hero before Hero changed his style. I always hated like that style that he did, and he was around for so long in that world before he obviously had this long WWE run as well. So maybe that's what it is.
Great base, one of the best bases of all time. Oh, genuinely,
absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you remember though? There was that. I think there was that big clamour for him to be like main event or world champion or something, and it's almost like someone at WWE went like, all right, go on, we'll show you, because they gave him a mic and got him to go out, and he just totally like fucking stuttered all over his words and totally like fucked up his promo, and it was like, there you go, that's why he's not the fucking that's why he's not the main eventer. Set him up for a fall.
Well. Heyman didn't even work with him. He was another Paul Heyman.
That could have. He didn't have enough patience with that. He didn't really give him enough time with that, I don't think, but that could have worked. But yeah, any others we want to throw in? Any other hate tickers? I could throw in some more types of cheese.
Wait, we're not getting over the Eddie Guerrero one, Benno. We're not getting over that so quickly. I'm just never going. He's brilliant. Gareth, come on, back me up here.
Yeah, he is.
Eddie Guerrero. But
it's like the real one, I think I'd drill it down to the types of fans who talk him up, where it's like they're not talking him up. It's like Regal. They're not talking him up because they're a Death Valley Driver poster who's seen like, the matches with Finlay and his Japan run and stuff like that. Like I'll always say, they love the piss and tea moment. They love what they saw on WWE TV, and they've just made up in their head they've seen these great matches. With Eddie, obviously he did great stuff in WWE. Nothing wrong with that. But I think it's overstated, I think, like the stuff he did in WWE. I think it's obviously there's WCW stuff that I love that he did. And,
ECW.
And all of that.
Sacrilege, this, like,
Black Tiger stuff, all that. I know, and again, I'm not saying he's bad.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying I hate him. But when people talk about him as like an all-time great WWE wrestler, I just think that
he's better than Samoa Joe. That just ends. He's better than Samoa Joe. 100 million%.
No, he's not.
Not even in the same.
It's a conversation. It's a conversation.
It's a quick one. It's a fucking quick one.
That one might get some people on your side. I see what you've done.
We'll put that to the people.
I can take that conversation. That's absolutely fair enough. But I don't know. It's just like I think it's a lot of people who, it's a bit like the Brody thing. It's like he died at a certain time when people were a certain age watching WWE, so they kind of, he's like the sacred cow from that era. But don't know. not to the level.
I think I remember us having this conversation in a car going somewhere, mate. We were going to a show.
Yeah, I think you were agreeing. I think
I was like, I was Benno of centre kind of thing, like that way. So I don't think you're happy, mate. No.
Outrageous stuff. Outrageous what I'm hearing. Oh, but yeah.
Will Dominic have a better career than Eddie? It says, yeah, but even I'm not going that far.
I said he'd be a world champion. He'll be a world champion, Dominic.
It was the fourth radical, definitely.
Wow, behind Perry? No one's behind Perry, come on.
He's after lads. I mean, second, like, he's the second one, really, if I'm being honest.
Third.
Don't even put him, Gareth, don't even put Malenko ahead of him, seriously, mate. I know you're a big Joe Malenko guy, but fucking hell, don't even start on this. If anyone couldn't talk, mate, Steve Malenko couldn't act. Fucking couldn't even, I'm not even going into it.
Fucking wrestle. Do a good Texas Cloverleaf, mate.
But he could do a good Texas Cloverleaf, like, but...
It's one of them where I think the point is you can be great, but you can still be overrated. Is kind of my defensive position when it comes to.
I just like all rounders. That's just where I stand. And Samoa Joe, Cesaro, Dean Malenko, they're not all rounders for me, and that's just where I stand.
Okay. All right. Well, joining us on the shows, we keep the train running. Wondering if she might have any takes on our most hated wrestlers. It's Steph Chase. Hi, Steph.
Hi, Benno. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Steph.
Benno, you are so brave talking about Eddie Guerrero.
And I'm going to head it out to finish the product, aren't I? Like it's not going to be in the final podcast. I got nothing to worry about. It's going to be gone. You know how this game works. I say these things to you privately. I don't say them in public.
I know. It reminds me of a girl I used to be friends with, and she watched wrestling for like literally a couple of months. And she used to always tell me, like, when we talked about wrestling, or if we met people that were into wrestling, her contribution would always be, I took a day off school the day Eddie Guerrero died. And I was like,
there you go.
Wow,
it's a big moment in people's lives. You know.
What an impact he made on that 2 months she was watching wrestling, you know. But yeah, and to Dawn in the chat, Saraya was in mine. She was number one.
Go on, give us quickly what's your 5 to 1 most hated wrestlers. I know what they are, but
okay. The order really hard, and I did it better than I thought. But I would say my honorable mention is Jimmy Havoc, and that's not to do with like anything that he did. I just despised this man so much before speaking out, and I could not believe that he got a contract like out of people in the UK, like what the fuck, always a dreadful wrestler. In last year's Big Show, so when Big Show first won the WWE title, I called into that Talk Sport wrestling show that was hosted by, what the fuck do you call him? What do you call him?
Shame.
Tommy Boyd?
Alex Shane. Yeah. Alex Shane's show. I called into that to complain that the Big Show was champion, and and I was so young when I did this. I can't remember what age I was, but I was so young. And he said to me, like, "Oh, do you think it's like disrespecting the business?" And I was like, "Yes, it is, because he's terrible." And then they told me basically that Big Show passes the airport test, so he should be champion. And then they cut off my call, and I was very annoyed as a child. So always.
Matty's big on the airport test.
Yeah, but Brock Lesnar didn't have the airport test, though, was it? We beat it for it, you know what I mean? So,
I think Samoa Joe had the airport test, but you know.
What airport?
I think on
Liverpool John Lennon.
No one would recognise him. No one would. You put him in Liverpool airport, no one would know who he is.
Unbelievable.
I'm big on the competent worker test, and Big Show did not pass that. Then Matt Hardy, diabolical. I didn't hate him during his initial run, but he's become awful. Now he's like grifting in podcasts. Just absolutely hate him. Bad ideas. Don't like Broken Matt. Don't like any of it. Don't like his wife exploiting their kid for money. Just awful. Hulk Hogan, never liked Hulk Hogan. He's like probably the first 2 wrestlers I ever saw that I knew their name was Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan. Hate him from the beginning. Just awful. William Regal, fucking twat. I hate that man. I will never forget. I was there. I was there when he debuted for AEW, and I was like, I'm gonna have to give this man the benefit of the doubt, like a second chance. Tony Khan's boy. What did he do? Fuck over Tony Khan. Boring wrestler. I hate all people in the British wrestling sphere that say William Regal was a good worker and yet do not know any of his matches. Like what you said, he just drank piss funny. That was it. Hate that man. Hate the Blackpool Combat Club. Hate the fact that he did a promo where he said he put a toothbrush up his bum, and that was a babyface promo. Just that's like a Roman Empire of like how that got past anyone. Like that is disgusting. Hate it. Number one, Saraya. Yeah, Saraya. I think she's a terrible worker. I think people only think she was good because she had dyed black hair, and the other girls mostly had blonde hair. In the documentary, you can see that anything about her being alternative was just fake and done for her to be different in WWE. As soon as people like Becky and Charlotte and Sasha came along, and Bailey, my number one Bailey, it showed Saraya was awful. I think she's a horrible person. I think her boyfriend is a disgusting transphobe and bigoted in other ways. He uses horrible slurs on Twitter. People need to be looking into his Twitter when they look into like spouses of wrestlers' Twitter. It's amazing that she gets a pass. Tony Khan put her on TV during Pride Month when she bullied an LGBT teenager. She went on TikTok to make a video to bully this kid, and like got no repercussions whatsoever. Violent being a wrestler and just one of the worst signings in AEW history. The women's division was actually on a good path thanks to Jamie Hayter when Saraya came in, and it derailed it for a significant amount of time. Her getting that match at Wembley was fucking disgusting. And yeah, I'm waiting for her to do the next thing, because like that video with the teenager was horrid, and if a WWE wrestler had done that, they would have been in big trouble.
It's so funny that this year we've got like 3 actual women's programs set up for All In Wembley, and last year it was literally a party for the Knight family, wasn't it? It was just like an excuse for them all to get on the turnbuckles and have like their big moment.
It was awful, and you know. It sucks what happened to Jamie Hayter, because like, she's a truly great wrestler and from the UK and could have got that moment. I hope that if they're doing a like British thing for anyone, then it's Mariah May, and we just fuck off Saraya and don't let her anywhere near the show. And he paid for that Queen music for her. Unbelievable.
Could have been Emmy Sattler, Gareth, you know? Could have been your favourite.
I would have been less mad if he'd paid for Jericho to mime to it, but her, like, awful. So, yeah, she's my most hated wrestler. You can clip this, it's fine.
I was going to say, apart from that, Steph, is she all right?
Nice girl, isn't that, isn't she? Let's keep her away this year. Let's keep her away from anything.
Absolutely not. 100%. Like, keep her away from Wembley. I do quite like Ricky Knight Jr., so it's not the whole family I hate.
Good lad. There we go. But yeah, hopefully it's better this year, eh, Gareth?
Hopefully, what's better? Wembley.
In general, yeah. We're going to talk about that today, aren't we?
The women's stuff will be, because it's the best stuff on the show. Like, it's by a country mile. I hope all 3 get on the big show, like, so you know, like you say, it's worlds apart, isn't it, from this time last year where you had fuck all like build up going into it, and you know, definitely from like the women's point of view, but women's stuff's great at the moment. Should just make it an all women's show.
Do Evolution, but do it before WWE get there. But yeah, I was going to say, all your hated ones, Steph. Did you want to throw in any hated foods before we get into in-ring wrestling stuff?
You misrepresented me. I don't hate cauliflower.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Mushrooms
she hates. I'm sorry.
Easy to mix up, Benno, then.
I know,
it's vegetables in it, you know. I should have realised it when I was like, oh, she likes broccoli rice. No, sorry, cauliflower rice. So, like, I should have figured it out that that wasn't your A figure. I used to love mushrooms, but for about a period of about 6 weeks, I just overate them. Like, I was on a big diet, like, shovel them into stir fries and just ate too many, and now I can't stand them either. They could have made my list. I'm sure they're on Garrett's, like, top 5 foods with, the limited range you got, Garrett, but, you know, could have...
I will say that...
Yeah.
Mushrooms weren't any attempt I've ever made at being a vegetarian, because they are just too everywhere. Whenever I've like tried vegetarianism, they're just too many mushrooms. Hate sweet corn as well. That you mentioned that in the pre-show. I hate cucumbers. I had cucumbers in like a bao bun the other day. They were unadvertised. No. They make everything stink. If you hate them, everything stinks. And my biggest hate... Yeah?
I just remember getting you a sandwich once from the shop and forgetting to get them to take tomatoes off it, and I don't think you spoke to me for about 2 days. So I feel like you should throw that in there.
I hate actual tomatoes. Actual tomatoes.
Few shots I
love
Discord,
ketchup. Yeah, actual tomatoes are disgusting. And then the other thing that is the bane of my life is Coke Zero. I hate the existence of Coke Zero. I hate that people pass it off as Diet Coke. I also hate the existence of Pepsi. Another thing that people pass off as Coke. I think that we should be limited to just either Coke or Diet Coke so that people like me who are completely addicted to Diet Coke and will accept no alternatives don't have to go through the pain of being brought a fucking Coke Zero when we're asked for Diet Coke or being told we have Diet Pepsi. Not the same thing. I hate those. I hate that. I just want my Diet Coke. We were in a restaurant, Benno's last night in Toronto. They were bringing out Coke Zero to pass off as Diet Coke or Pepsi Max. Get fucked.
What is it with girls and Diet Coke? I've been saying this while we were away. I feel like it's like some marketing genius.
It's the Diet Coke ads. It's the Diet Coke ads.
It's the Diet Coke ads.
The Diet Coke break ads. Yes, with all the shirtless hotties, with all the
in their blue jeans,
like, carrying cross lookalikes.
Propaganda works. Like, never seen anything like it. Like literally every girl I've ever known loves Diet Coke. All of them, without fail.
Man, if Diet Coke sales ever start to fall, recreate that ad with Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross.
Oh no, don't say Gareth. I told Gareth you'd be on your best behaviour today. We don't need another grapple civil war.
I'm not going there.
You could sell some Diet Coke. But yeah, good shouts. More for you, Matthew. And you didn't throw in on the food.
On the food, like cucumbers, I used to not like them at all, but now chopped up small in a salad, don't mind them. But the last like bit of salad, I'm getting on any butty. Do you know what I mean? Always get a bit of lettuce, onion, peppers before, like even tomatoes, before cucumber, like so. Yeah, all about the sauce, though, isn't it? Really, if we're talking that, so yeah. Put some sauces in there, like I don't, that's overrated. That Malaysian chili you get, the Chinese thing, that's overrated.
I hate ranch. Ranch is everywhere here.
Everywhere in America.
I like the idea of it, Steph. Yeah, it's like because when I went to America, it's like, I'll get ranch. It's nice, and then when you have it a few times, it's like not much to it. So I'll agree there.
It's like the blue cheese that comes with buffalo wings that just goes in the bin right away. It's just a weight of a container for me. Why bother? Just give me the wings, That's all I want. But don't get me started on cheese.
Benno and his buffalo wings. Oh my gosh!
How many places do they get buffalo wings in Toronto and New York? Once a day.
Yeah, Benno's quest for authentic buffalo wings.
What are we saying? Is it 10 at a time? Is that like a normal portion?
A pound, which is about 8 to 10, yeah. So you get like a pound or 2 pounds if you want more than one flavour. But yeah, I learned that the breaded ones aren't. In my head, the breaded ones would be better, but they maybe not. Just regular. So, buffalo wings tossed in the sauce. That's what you want. You get the proper Frank's Red Hot. That's my quest.
Couple of big gulps for it then, Ben. Standard go hand in hand.
We did that every morning, didn't we?
There we go, Steph.
There you go.
I'm still keeping them in business.
Yeah, we can.
This is like the 5-1 where they have props laying around where I had like a Hogan to pull out and all kinds.
Benno, quick sidebar, but I just went to that 7-Eleven and one of the young men, probably the youngest one that works there, he's now in a sling. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened to you? And I wondered if you tried to like fight off some of one of the robbers. But no, he like somehow playing some sport, like dislocated his shoulder, but he was still working hard in 7-Eleven and even tried to bag my stuff for me. And I was like, it's fine. I hope you get better soon. Like he's a worker.
Those lads.
Mm-hmm. It's either that or he's been watching us dunk the clown tapes, Gareth. You know, it's one of the other. It is.
But yeah, we wanted to get you on, Steph, not just for your 5-1 hate figures, but I mean, you're one of the 5-1 hate figures right now on Twitter, aren't you? Because you basically
killed by Saraya.
This is so funny because we did the media summit with John Way and Brandon Thurston, which we put for free on the Patreon feed, so anyone can get it, or you can watch it on the post YouTube or on one of their audio feeds as well. But like one of the things we literally talked about amongst me being sat there, being starstruck by being sat at a table with John Pollitt waiting and Brandon Thurston, and of course you when we were sat there, and Platt, who's in the background of one of the photos sticking his head out.
What a picture!
Part of the crew, brilliant. But even Joe was laughing at that. But like, it took me like a week of being home and looking through my pictures and putting them on Instagram, bro. I was like, fucking hell, if you'd have told me 5 years ago I'd be sat at that table, like as part of that like kind of group in a live bar in Toronto with John and Way hosting it and doing that podcast. Like, I don't think I appreciated it as much in the moment because we were
Think of how starstruck I was, because I started live as a Law listener and then obviously found Brandon Thurston's work, but also like I was a Grapple fan. It's not as if you were a Stephanie Chase fan before being approached by me.
I think you were real.
Yeah, you thought I was a bot. So for
this girl who likes the Bullet Club, like she's clearly made up.
Yeah, so for me, I was like, oh my gosh, and Benno's here too. I've been listening to him for years.
Well, I appreciate it, but it was like quite like overawing doing it. I made up with the feedback people are giving back. But it's so funny because one of the things I talked about on that is when we had that, it's been more than a year now, so fuck him, that run-in with the gobshites of progress. Like, I talked about it on this podcast. I got a bit of grief. You wrote an article about it, and the grief that you got was just like 10 times what I got, including some of like quite seriously, like some of the horrible DMs and replies that obviously I've seen that were nothing like any of us will get as men in this space. I can tell you that for anyone who thinks now there's nothing to that, there absolutely is. Some of the fucking vilest, most horrible stuff that would never be directed at us got directed at you, and we were talking about that on that podcast, and I feel like it's happened again with the latest amazing piece you put on your Substack. I will say so myself. I'm biased, but I mean it. And like, we talked about the same things on here because me and you, we went to Forbidden Door. We experienced that live experience. Yes, we did watch the pre-show from the bar next door. Key point, we did watch it, but we watched it from the bar next door because who wants to sit in the same seat for 6 hours? I expressed the same points as you about the difference. You know, I maybe compared it to a Trump rally before. Maybe I'll edit that out the final file. But, you know, going to Money in the Bank and being around the WWE fans who are just 10 times more into what's going on right now. And it's just a very different kind of kettle of fish when you go to a live WWE show from an organization point of view, from just, you know, the merchandising to just them having their shit together, you know, and experience secondhand, you know, through you, what the media situation is like at AEW compared to WWE. And I've had obviously interactions with AEW media myself as well. I could have written exactly the same thing you wrote, and I pretty much said it all on our podcast, and I got barely any pushback. Mm-hmm. Your tweets have been something this last couple of days. I don't know if you want to answer the haters with anything on it, but no, I thought you like we did on the podcast made fair points. Apparently you're just WWE pilled, which is funny because people could say that about me. Literally, our YouTube comments had somebody calling me AEW pilled, so I was like, well, which way is it, lads? You know, it just tends to be, doesn't it? Whichever side of whatever argument you're making, that's you in that moment at any given time with the discourse right now.
Well, I don't think I'm helping my case right now because you can see my WWE towel in the background.
I was just going to say that.
My Pharaoh.
Quick,
I'm like, I'm not WWE pilled. But
I've got your AEW hat here. I can just display it if you want.
Right, dude. I walk around with an AEW
Show your phone
lanyard all day. Oh yeah, always got my AEW lanyard on that. But these towels were given out free at the WWE event to everyone. So of course I took one. And
again, smart merchandising. He had a white party, didn't he?
Smart.
He wanted everyone to wear white.
And they wanted everyone to bring these towels. They were given out at SmackDown, so they wanted everyone to bring it and Money in the Bank so that you had like a whole sea of towels. But yeah, some funny reactions to what I wrote for sure. A lot of people taking you're just WWE pilled or you want that WWE job and everything, which is, I think, really funny. Yeah, because anyone that's definitely like followed me for a long time has knows how enthusiastic I was and still am about AEW. And I even said when I kind of did a follow-up on my most recent Substack post, which is like the start of a newsletter I'm trying to do, that I do think I'm actually kind of unfair to WWE because a lot of my coverage slants more on AEW because I do prefer their wrestling. And I did say in my article that Forbidden Door had the better matches. Like nothing was going to top Ospreay, Swerve, and also Zach and Orange Cassidy too. That I totally loved. But I think if AEW is taking like someone like me who was that enthusiastic enough to spend money to go see them when the pandemic ended, when maybe some other people that went to see WWE weren't doing it out of their own pocket, but I did that with AEW. It's been 4 years since that now, but 5 years since the whole company. And there's these things where they just haven't made improvements, no matter what they've said or no matter how time has gone on. And you just look at, I think, so Joe Lanza broke the whole thing of the Fast Nationals and WWE giving them to certain reporters and stuff.
Bix on Between the Sheets, wasn't it? Definitely.
Yeah. So Joe kind of broke that thing originally in his writing on Voices, and then him and Bix did do a great podcast this weekend. And it's people, what I don't get is people being surprised by these tactics, because it's yes, of course WWE are doing that. Of course they want AEW to look in a worse state than it is, and there's no denying that they are direct competition. But I'd kind of argue that the WWE PR people are just doing their job, whereas the AEW ones are sitting back. And that's not that I'm saying that I agree with putting out dodgy numbers or whatever, but they're doing their job.
Should be ashamed. It's the people doing it, not necessarily the tactic of even if we can all have opinions on that.
Away from those tactics, which are kind of shady, they do other things, treat the media well, provide them with interviews. I went to that media day on Friday, and I only talked to Chelsea Green, just by choice. And I'm going to put that up on my YouTube probably tomorrow. But when I got home, I'm looking through my Twitter feed. It's interviews with Chelsea, Tiffany Stratton, all over my feed. Could not escape these people because WWE are providing the media with that. So it felt oh yeah, it's really Money in the Bank weekend. Whereas build up to Forbidden Door, what do you see? It's not a Twitter feed full of all the outlets pushing out this content that promotes the pay-per-view. So there's stuff like that. They don't do those little touches. I've asked AEW when I've been in America if I can get in-person interviews. They've told me we don't do that. They did do a junket for All In, but I think the level of talent they provided was not good. I mean, he's someone that I have spoken to many times outside of doing an interview with him, but Anthony Ogogo had not been on TV for a year. I nearly said 10 years there, it felt like it. And he was one of the people they had at the junket. So I had to awkwardly sit with him and be hey man, what have you been up to since the last time I saw him? The last time I saw him was at an AEW event they flew him over for and didn't use him. So there's that, So they do stuff like that. And I've interviewed AEW wrestlers like over Zoom while being in the same city as them and had them be like, oh, you're here? Why aren't we doing this in person? And I'm like, well, because that's apparently not something that you do. So it's like these like little touches would really help. Now, the scrums is a whole separate issue. So I don't know if you have anything to say back to any of the points I just made.
Yeah. I mean, does it shock you, Gareth? I mean, that's just that's the thing that stands out for me. It's the fact that AEW's been around 5 years, and of course we've got all these head starts, but there are still things like that they could be doing better. The match situation could and should very clearly be better to get into the media, scrums and stuff like that. They could be better organised, and they could, there was a point where that was another bit of pushback. You got, you're not a professional if you left before the media scrum. Like, I haven't been there, and I was still outside the arena. It was 1:15 in the morning. It was me and about 4 other people left in the entire arena. This is after the Forbidden Door show, and you're in the media scrum. And Tony Khan hasn't even gotten started yet. And the last train to New York is at 1:30. And they've got fucking wrestlers out there dancing in front of you. Like, I didn't tell you to leave, but I'm not shocked you did. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is going to go on longer than it's even possible to get home. They're not taking, like Brandon said, there's like a lack of respect, I suppose, for your time. And just, again, that's an organizational thing.
There is definitely a lack of like respect for your time. I don't want to go as far as to say like a lack of respect for the media, but there are a couple of things like you can see clearly with Tony, like who he respects, and it's like Dave, like basically. But I think that and he's always like, oh, thank you very much for coming here. But like for a start, like they don't respect your time, and they don't respect the give and take. So I mentioned in that article like a situation I had where I was trying to organize an interview with someone from AEW, a wrestler, doing it through the PR people, and I nearly didn't get to do it. And I get this response back that says, well, I'm sure you'll have plenty with like live shows, a pre-show call, and then a post-media scrum. You'll have like plenty of content. And it was like at that moment that I was like, oh, so they think, or at least this person's mentality is that they are doing you a favor. That it's not like a give and take partnership thing where like if you work with WWE, they're like, we'll, give you an interview with whoever, and then that's publicity for us. They're like, oh, we're doing these people a favor by letting them interview someone because, oh, they get so much already with these calls, which AEW doesn't let you broadcast like anymore. The scrum is live on their YouTube. Nothing is exclusive at all. And that's kind of how they see it. And I don't think that's a very good way of them looking at it. And they've had enough time and opportunity to fix this, and they haven't. And as far as that particular scrum goes, I did not attend it. I walked out of it because I was so insulted. And if I'd been asked why you walking out in that moment, I would have said, because I am so insulted, at what they decided to do at 1 a.m. in the morning, having female wrestlers dance while Tony Khan sits there. Like, it's just not on.
I mean, just, you talk about this, and then obviously, thing is, though, is like that article that you wrote, like, obviously from, knowing you've been on podcasts with you and things like that over the years and things like, I know that's a drum that you've been banging for years, though, around things like the merchandise and the things of like the professionalism of the marketing side of things and the media side of things. And it's just, it's one of those things that you take a step back and you think like you're half a decade into being like a professional multi-million-pound media company, and then you still can't get like the basic stuff like this correct, yet you'll still be like hoovering up and like putting the money into wrestlers and things like that, yet you can turn up to a show and not get a fucking t-shirt for like a main event on the show, or you're not you're not doing basic PR in the regions where you're like promoting an event and things, and it's like, oh, surprise, like you can't sell out any arenas. Well, maybe actually put a bit of fucking effort into that side of the business as well. It's not just a case of just like throwing a bit of dough at some oh, here we go, we've got Johnny TV. Like, he's going to put some bums on seats, isn't he? No, he's not, kind of thing. And there's somebody you've now got contracted now for another 12 months or 2 years. Actually, that money should probably have gone to maybe hire a proper merchandise manager, or maybe hire somebody who's like a, PR background from events or something like that, or TV or things, boost the off camera side of things. And like, when I sort of saw the feedback that you were getting there, and then you look at the, I mean, you take a step back and you actually look at your article, and I was thinking, how many people have actually read this article? Because it couldn't be more balanced if you tried. Like, where you tried to put that, you're getting across you're an AEW day one person, referencing how many different shows that you've been to and things like that, and you're just like people. It just sort of, I suppose, shows the extent to which people will just go off like a soundbite or a basic like headline or something like that, which we know, but like. The idea that your own biases and professionalism, and that's like that is the worst thing with almost wrestling these days, and just makes stuff tiresome. It's just that tribalism. You can't say anything without being pigeonholed to be one way or the other, and it's like it's this two-way thing that you're either on that side of the fence or the other. It's crazy.
We joke about that here with me and Matty, and one of the points you made in the article made me think of the Matty, because like you mentioned the merch, like how many people did we see walking around with like Yeet t-shirts on? It was like seeing Matty's.
Oh God, yeah.
Everywhere I looked, it was a Matty. It was like hell for me, but it was like it made Jey Uso feel like the biggest star in the world, and like there's a cumulative effect there, and that's one of the things you pointed out. But to what Garrett's saying there, absolutely, that like some of the feedback is saying, oh, she's mad about this, but she's not mad about Vince McMahon, and it's like, I mean, and the WWE lawsuit with Janel Grant, yes, she fucking is, because she mentions in the piece about that, there is a paragraph where you mention that, but obviously that was about other things, that doesn't mean you don't have strong, takes on that elsewhere, but everything's like everything's just like it's tit for tat, isn't it? And the people doing that are using that to win the stupid, the people who are saying that to you are the people on Twitter with @AEW in the profile going, well, you're biased because you wrote an article laying out the experience of going to an AEW show and a WWE show and laid out the pros and cons of both, and your conclusion was that WWE was a more professional outlet, well, therefore you're biased to WWE. It's like, no, that's just an opinion based on the information that was in front of you, and these are people, like I say, with @AEW, #AEW, like in the profile and stuff, and it goes both ways. Obviously, like I say, the people in the Yeet t-shirts have probably got similar profiles on Twitter. Your burners on Matty that give me grief in the comment section on YouTube. I know you got a few going, but like I know it exists on both sides, but it's just insane. It's just absolutely insane.
It's absolutely wild. I love on Twitter. Do you ever get it when you think, I just got followed by a pretty girl, and then you look at the profile and you're like, that's a picture of Liv Morgan. That's a picture of, it's just some like WWE stand. But the comparison thing, like I've written about Vince McMahon, my feelings on Vince McMahon, and maybe we'll talk about it more if we get into like Ric Flair. But I did. The other day, right, about Ric Flair and mentioning the Vince McMahon stuff. Like Vince is like a level of bad that, my God, I hope no one else ever reaches, but it doesn't mean that like no one else can be called out for anything because they're not Vince McMahon. But going on off what Gareth was saying about all the little things that AEW doesn't do, I do sometimes wonder, is this maybe down to Tony previously, his family buying the Jags and buying Fulham, and like we all know who those teams are without anything having to go into it. So when he created something with AEW, he didn't have the mindset of we have to like educate people on what AEW is. We have to promote it. We have to do all these little things, because like I don't think Fulham Football Club needs like the promotion to make people fans. Do you know what I mean? To make people buy tickets, they just have to be a good football team, and same with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Can I just go back to something you said earlier, Steph, on the YouTube stuff you're saying when you went to the Money in the Bank? Like, it might just be my algorithm, Ben, as well, but it's like whenever there is a WWE like event, as Steph said, you'll have the same backdrop, but so many different interviewers interviewing these wrestlers. Was when AEW do something, and it was only Wembley, really. I've seen it where they were on like the snack wars or getting interviewed on stuff. You don't see it. And I think that's not just my algorithm, because I get all my wrestling on there. And Khan himself will go on, Wrestling Observer Radio the week before a pay-per-view. That's about, you might get Jericho doing like some local whatever, but they need to be sending all these wrestlers out doing more stuff, getting the names out there. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And again, if we're gonna do that partisan thing, that's coming from Matty. But I'd agree, as somebody who would, again, you would agree, Steph, to want AEW to be better, to be in better positions for what I would say is the better product right now, to be seen by more people, for more people to be in the arenas for those shows. These are all things that are constructive criticism, aren't they? You know.
Yeah, and I think that AEW to me is still a better wrestling product, but WWE, it's a combination of actually doing better storylines now. The Bloodline story that Matty likes so much. I fucking love the Drew and Punk stuff, but they've like built around it to make it seem maybe even bigger than it actually is. They've got the marketing around all this stuff, and AEW just don't have that. And I mean, they're using someone now from WWE in their PR, but to me, like, there hasn't been a big difference with that. And I think I'm pretty sure like that person is tasked with more doing like the local appearances, but they don't even use that properly. I think it was a scrum I went to. It might have been the Dynasty scrum when Swerve won the title. And he was saying that people say like he's not featured enough, but he does all this and like this stuff. And I was like, well, good for you. But like your company don't promote you doing all this stuff. You know how you'll see on Raw, like what superstars are doing. If AEW don't properly promote, even when their wrestlers get to do all these outside things to help promote the company.
That's it. Easy wins, innit? You know, me and JP talk about it all the time, and like the run up to Wembley and such as well. But I was going to say, you know, obviously, yeah, that's the big kind of story that you put on your Substack. People should subscribe if they want to read it in full. But you did do a follow up this week, going back to the haters and such. But yeah, he did some writing there about a few different things. Ric Flair as well in the situation. That's a story you're trying to get the bottom of right now, isn't it? What's the actual? Have you had any info yet? Anything you can break news for us on air for us? Spotlight exclusive.
No, I'm still awaiting a reply from AEW on the status of Ric Flair. So yeah, well, obviously the Ric Flair thing I've been kind of invested in because I was mad when they hired him. I thought it was like such an unnecessary L for Tony to take, and it's one of those instances where he's pretty lucky that the Vince stuff broke because it really took heat away. But such an unnecessary L hiring Ric Flair.
Moral high ground they didn't need to give up, did they?
Absolutely.
And again, not saying the two things are equal, but they
no, of course not.
The clean promotion, you know.
For sure. Well, for sure. And so when they hired Ric Flair, Tony was not like, he was not promoting it like the way you would if Ric Flair didn't have the baggage. So he doesn't get the All Elite graphic. And immediately Tony's in the New York Post saying, well, I'm not paying Ric Flair. Like essentially Ric Flair is paying us because his salary was being covered by Woo Energy. So I had been wondering, where has old Rick gone since Revolution? And then Meltzer wrote in the newsletter that people had observed that the Woo Energy was gone. And I hadn't actually thought about that, but I haven't seen that in a while. Certainly didn't see that in any live shows I've been to. So Meltzer reported basically that the deal seems to be done over between Woo Energy and AEW. So that sparked my question of, well, who's paying Ric Flair now if he's still employed? And then Fightful followed up with a report which was saying that there'd been no creative plans for Rick. Then I did ask AEW directly, is the deal with Woo Energy over? Is Ric Flair still employed? And if he is, who's paying his salary? But I have not got a reply on that. And then Rick himself appeared on Busted Open Radio and talked about one of his crazy ideas and said he hasn't heard back from them since. But that doesn't mean that he's not employed. So the question does remain of who's paying Ric Flair's salary if he's still employed. And I will say, anything I have heard from inside AEW about Ric Flair, his presence there has been negative, but it's all been stuff related to him pitching crazy ideas for segments that would highlight him. And that's exactly what Rick said himself when he said the idea he pitched for Sting's retirement match, which he said with zero self-awareness, because he added that it's hard to make people hate Ric Flair right now. But Rick, you've done a tremendous job of making me hate you. So
yeah. I'm just glad he's gone as a starting point. Like, I'm just
if he's gone.
Mm-hmm. But it's one of them though. Yeah, he said he'd signed a multi-year deal, but he's clearly whispering to Meltzer, say that's going to be Meltzer's source. I would guess. That's just me speculating. That's the reason why he's hearing stuff about like Flair being gone from AEW. And like I say, I was all noticing there's no more Woo Energy advert, but. Yeah, it's fucking one of those. It was just unnecessary, wasn't it, Gareth? Like, why bring him in the first place? Like, why? It goes back to our top 5 hated wrestlers. Like, it added to my case for Ric Flair. Like, this last run in AEW that was just so unnecessary. Like Steph said in her article, like there was a point where they were gonna bring him in, and then that Dark Side of the Ring episode aired, and then after it aired, Tony backed off on it and thought it wasn't the right decision to do. But all he was doing was buying time, really, until they brought him in with this stupid energy drink deal on the quiet as well. No graphic, no Ric Flair is all elite, just quietly started featuring him on telly, didn't it? It was almost like they were ashamed of it from the start.
And that's it. Like, like Steph said, just the timing of it just was just ridiculous kind of thing. It was just an easy loss, at a time where Khan had made comments, hadn't he? Trying to be a bit more kind of like, we're more moral almost, and trying to take that like moral high ground. And then it just was giving himself a perfect opportunity to get shot down. I can't remember the order that it came in, but I feel like the Jericho stuff or allegations around him were pretty close to the Ric Flair stuff.
Yeah, they were just after.
Yeah. So like, again, it was almost like there's one, there's another kind of thing. And it was just like, I think especially on the back of, some of the other stuff, obviously not related to that, but just the way that he handled, obviously, the CM Punk situation and things like that. Just this kind of like just chip away. It actually, is this guy like made out to lead a company? Is he a strong leader? Has he got his has he got a consistent like idea and plan around what things should be? Does he know what right and wrong actually is here? And just saying things with his words coming out of one mouth, but then out of his mouth, but then doing something totally different, on the other side with who he's signing or the way he's like treating different things. I think his credibility has. It was a big dent in his credibility at that time, but I think it was just an additional dent in his credibility to go with, along with probably 6, 7, 8 others that weren't necessarily related to that type of thing. The hiring of Ric Flair and all the baggage that comes with that, but a lot of his failings from a business and management point of view in some of the other areas around AEW. Like, I feel like it's this kind of like, as we've talked about in New Japan in the past, it's this kind of like chip away that kind of comes with like reputation and things like that suddenly you go from this thing of thinking like, oh, this guy's the savior of wrestling kind of thing to actually he's really not, is he, kind of thing. And then you lose that confidence that goes along with it, and that's when you lose an element of like favorability. You lose a sort of feeling of wanting to support this person and behind what they're doing and things like that. You lose a bit as well. And these are things that I don't think people think about enough, the impact of multiple small things along the way. And, if you keep making bad decisions, like, again, Steph was a big AEW booster kind of thing with a lot of the content that she does. You turned her off to the product or elements to the product in a few different ways. Likewise, us, we were fucking massive AEW boosters, but things go wrong along the way, or they make decisions that you think that's not right. And then you start to sort of, do I want to watch this product? Is it as hot as I thought it was? And, we're a small kind of concentration of people who've been very passionate about a product. If we're like that and we're people who want to come on here and talk about wrestling, think of the people who are just like, yeah, it's all right, kind of, yeah, I'm into it, I'm enjoying it, fuck it. And that's where your 200,000 viewers have gone, 250,000 viewers have gone. You just, it all just contributes and builds up to, making something less than. And I think he's had a massive part in doing that.
made
It's
themselves
wild
a heel
that
in a lot of ways. I was going to say, Steph, like, you know, like to that point, like, you can mention the Cody stuff that came out today as well, like the quotes he's got about like the end of his AEW run. Remember that at the time? We all got it. Like Gareth got it, I got it, I think you got it as well, Steph. AEW be fine. Why he's making a big deal out of Cody leaving? Because he's one of the fucking founding like fathers of the company who, when they set it up, you would have just thought he'd be there for life. And you know, him leaving and the scenario around that, which we can get into, like, is a massive kind of negative for AEW, and it's something that, like, no matter how badly Cody was using himself or being used in AEW at the time, properly damaged their momentum. Obviously, Punk is another similar one as well, but, like, you know, we were told at the time, I remember people saying to you in your reply, Steph, AEW be fine, what are you whining about? Why does this matter? It's like, it does matter. These little things, these little negatives do add up over time, and they did turn AEW from being the cause that you were so passionate about into, you know, the kind of the promotion that we all just want to do better now. Pretty much that's kind of where we all are sat with it.
What I was going to say, like, regarding Flair was, it's wild how Tony is, you know, he's the knowledgeable guy, the newsletter reader, the guy that went to see ECW, and yet he's still, like, he's not Dixie Carter, right? He still got taken in by Flair enough to put him on the TV. I mean, anyone can tell you that you don't trust Flair. Flair's a carny and all that, and Tony still gives Flair a shot. But then to tie this into Cody, he knows all the history of WCW companies all over, and he lets Cody walk. Like, Cody, the founding guy, or one of the founders of AEW, and it's still completely downplayed how negative that was for the company, Cody's leaving. And I think we were probably all still on the high of CM Punk entering, that made some people, like, you know, downplay the Cody stuff, but an absolute disaster that a day one guy can leave. And we can go into like his quotes, and I've got some thoughts on where I think he's telling the truth and where I think he's not, but he should have never been out the door, at least that quickly.
There's always an element of that with Cody. You don't know, like, you know, he'll kind of sound like he's slagging AEW off, and then he'll pull it back with, you know, it's still the greatest time of my life. You know, I'm still made up, it happened, and I still love those young bucks. And I read it going, do you really? Did you love them the entire time, Cody? I'm not entirely sure. Like, he'll do double speak, won't he? When you read these things, Matt, you'll kind of see
it's him and Khan, though. I think that he can't go into it, can he?
That's
like
the personal issue, isn't it?
That's the one that, like, I'm dying to know, because like we're saying, it's only took me probably WrestleMania this year to see him fully as a WWE guy again. He had that aura of that AEW because I couldn't believe it when you heard the rumors before he actually joined. It was like, no, this can't happen. And I remember when we watched that, we went to Leeds, didn't we, the day after he debuted for WrestleMania, and we were in the car just like, you can't believe what you're seeing, that visual of him at WrestleMania coming off their TV. And it's still bizarre now, honestly. It's wild.
Gareth's going to hate me for saying this, but you thought it was a work, didn't you, at first? Gareth was going to the point of. I remember I was on the way down to Steph's to London, and you and JP did the weekend show, and you're like, it's all a work. Like, you were just like, but there's just no way this can be true. It's so ridiculous. Like, yeah,
it's bizarre. But was at the time. Remember when we did the Cody Deep Cut, and there was that kind of like finished on that interview that he did backstage that wasn't even on telly, and he was just sort of like sat on them things, and like, he didn't want to leave, did he? You could tell that was him. That was the real him. It was like what you could see was like bearing his feelings, his emotion there, and you're like, how on earth did you let this guy walk out of the door? How could you not like reconcile something for this, you know, again, founding father of AEW to stick around and still, you know, still be there? And again, whether it's a negotiation standpoint, whether it's a people management standpoint, you know, you think about like the obviously I keep coming back to it.
The money, the
CM Punk stuff and things like that, but you know, there's ways of dealing with, you know, there's ways of dealing with people, making people get along, making people want to be there. You know, whether it's money or it's something else, you know, it's achievable, and it still blows my mind. But then you look at it the other way and you go, like, as much as I'm not a WWE guy at all, I look at Cody Rhodes now, I look at him walk out at WrestleMania and I'm like, fucking, that was a sliding doors moment. Good job you didn't stay in AEW, because now you're a fucking massive superstar. You look like the king of the world coming down a huge ramp at WrestleMania with like All In fans going nuts for you, and everything that you've got now. You're a genuine star. Best thing that he ever did.
And we say that, don't we, Steph? Like you've got obviously you've got the Pharaoh behind you, and you see we went to the WWE pop-up store talking about the merch at Money in the Bank, and there's everything's got that tattoo that we all laughed at.
That tattoo.
On everything. WWE have turned that into a gigantic positive in a way AEW didn't, and it was, for me, it was bad man management from the start. Even if you can say he booked himself, he shouldn't have been allowed to. Even if you can say, he wanted to work with QT Marshall or whatever, a proper manager should have said no, and a proper manager shouldn't have let it get to that point where it was even a possibility that he might go to WWE. And yeah, Gareth's right, it has obviously worked out the best for Cody, worked out the best for WWE, because now Triple H always said that he's got his quarterback. But it hasn't worked out the best for AEW, very clearly.
Can I put my tinfoil hat on? So where I think
Brandy's fault.
No. Where
I read that on the Discord today, I believe it.
Everyone just leave Brandy alone.
I'm messing.
I know she wasn't a great TV character, but I will say that, so where I don't think that Cody is being totally honest in the comments that he made, are that I don't think that he saw AEW as just for a season. I don't believe that at all. I think that Cody truly wanted to build something, and I think he wanted to be a main part of it. I think he wanted to emulate his dad. I think he wanted involvement in booking and everything that goes into it, because remember, Cody used to be the one doing these scrums, and Cody took a real he took a real position as a leader of the company, like a front-facing person, before Tony Khan stepped up to do that. And there was lots of reports of the early days of AEW, Cody running around with a headset and all that kind of thing. So I think Cody really, really wanted this to be his company. And I don't think that Tony respected him enough in that way, because Cody Rhodes is not someone that Tony Khan grew up watching. And I think that's maybe where they came at loggerheads a bit. And I think that Cody was given his own creative that sometimes was good, sometimes was god awful, as a kind of well, you can be in your own little universe. You have control of that. But he didn't take advice on the wider things. And as Benno knows, shall I tell my theory, Benno, my theory of what pissed off Cody, and if anyone asks him this, that's not me, I will be so mad at you, but is that Cody was made an EVP along with Kenny and the Bucks, but it's clear that Kenny and the Bucks did not have the investment in that Cody did. And I think that Cody saw that role as him being Tony Khan's right-hand man. And then Tony Khan actually gave advisor to Tony Khan contracts to other people, namely CM Punk, who has stated that he had this contract. And I think that Tony saw someone like CM Punk and other people he grew up watching as people that he respected the ideas of and wanted to collaborate creatively in a way that he didn't with Cody. And I think that Punk turning up and getting that contract was the last straw for Cody, of him seeing where he was in the pecking order, a guy that was there from day one and invested. I think Tony, he respected the opinions of Punk and also Jericho as a veteran more than he ever did Cody. And I don't think that felt very good for Cody. And I think you could see that in the way he left his final program. And I don't think there's any heat between him and Punk anymore, because they're both making tons of money in WWE. But just imagine you in your life, someone imagine someone set up a newsletter and was this is just for you, Steph, and we're going to put all the money in behind it, and it's your thing. And then a couple months later, they're oh, well, I'm actually going to hire Dave Meltzer as my personal advisor, and he's going to put it all together, and I'll take all his advice, but you still do your own thing, it's fine. You'd kind of feel oh, I thought this was something different, but that's my theory.
Yeah. definitely got his nose pushed out in some way, and it's just written all over everything he says. Like you said, Matty, it's just clearly there's an issue with Tony there. That's probably what it is. You know, in this interview talked about his ending to AEW. The way it ended was terrible. No further detail. I joked about Brandy there.
Didn't it read like AEW was dead? I'm sorry, but didn't the quotes read like the company had closed?
Like it was over, yeah. Well, it is in his heart, innit? It's finished. But like, I believe there's a Brandy related element to it. I'm joking when I say it's her fault, but I'm sure hair use and button heads with Kenny Omega or whatever was happening with their terrible promos at the time probably had something to do with it as well as to why he's not talking. But like, yeah, just the more you get these, even mentions like, oh, he was annoyed the Young Bucks said that he was the last one to sign. That was another notable quote in this interview. I don't know why he's so annoyed about that because I don't think anyone really thinks about that, but apparently that's a big deal to Cody. There's something you can piece together there. There's going to be like a proper, like Cody said, there'll be a tell-all book written at some point. We'll get all
he
these,
said
details, God.
He said that. I was like, well, I really want to write that book, Cody. If you ever want to talk, or anyone else, or Cody or Phil or any of the other guys, I'd love to write that book.
Yeah,
proper wrestler though, Cody. There, isn't he? Paranoid.
Yeah.
Thinks everyone's talking about him being the last one to sign, or thinking about like because like other people have got like more power than him or whatever. Like good classic wrestling blood there. Like.
I always loved him. The thing you knew about, he took the job more seriously than the Bucks did. It wasn't just that he was the one who turned up in the pandemic shows and stuff like that. When we did that deep cut, he literally wore Tony Khan's jacket. He was like borrowing his jacket. He's like, I want to dress like me. No, and you make a new mate and you just unconsciously start dressing like similar to them. They start influencing your style and stuff like that. That was pure Cody. He was turning into a little Tony Khan at the time. He did. That was the real. Like, that's what the Bucks should be doing now, wearing that big long tan coat that he used to wear. There was definitely something to that.
But that's the thing as well. Sorry to say, but like Steph said, he's the one, Cody. Everyone could see it. That took that role of EVP more serious. I know you heard about Kenny like running the women's division at the time, and the Bucks with the tag team and the merch we're meant to be doing with the wives and that. But Cody, so I'm praising him and he's typical Cody in a way because
he had an office, didn't he?
Rightfully so, exactly. But then all this was filmed on YouTube, wasn't it? He had he was making you see that he was this like taking it serious.
Yeah.
So that's where I love Cody as Gareth saying, being that proper wrestler, like look at me, I'm doing more than the others type of thing. So
he's got a dressing room with his name on it. He's got fucking, all his little hangers on like Sammy Guevara knocking around, and like the Young Bucks are out back like playing crazy golf. Like, you know what I mean? Like you get annoyed if you do, wouldn't you? Like over time, like 100%. But
yeah, but like, where's Tony Khan though? He's having little meetings with his with Punk and Jericho to actually like iron out what's going on the TV. That's what's happening.
Yeah, that's probably why Cody's creative was so bad. It was like, well, what can I actually influence? My own stuff. Who's left? QT Marshall and fucking Sean Spears. I was like, I'll just use my mates then, I suppose, if I'm not allowed to book anything else. But I was going to say before we want to keep you too much longer, Steph, like the other thing you had in your piece this week, something we were going to talk about today, just your namesake, Steph Vaquer. Is she going to keep the name? Be another
apparently
wrestling? Seems like she is.
Yeah, apparently she is, and like, good for her. If only I'd known that I just had to wait for a massive Vince McMahon sex scandal federal investigation to break, and then I would have been able to wrestle being called Stephanie. I could have been the WWE Stephanie, but yeah, it looks like she's going to keep her name, and that's really cool.
Yeah, and you wrote a good bit about that, and I know you're going back and forth on whether to even include the bits about her personal life and Roosh and running in the back in AEW, but again, it's another one where you can understand why she's made the choice that she's made.
Yeah, totally. I think it is a difficult one to talk about just because she's never spoken about this case, or she's never said anything about Roosh. And then Roosh's brother Dragon Lee works for WWE, though he's not been publicly supportive of her ex in the way that Roosh has. But I did find that there was too much online of people being like, this is definitely why she made the decision. It was definitely because Roosh is in AEW. And I don't think that's true. I think definitely WWE seems like it was always the destination for her. She said it herself 3 years ago. I mean, WWE has like a hold over the wrestling world, like until AEW came along 5 years ago. So we all grew up watching that. And I think that it's going to be really interesting, though. It's good. NXT right now, I think is very good, but at the same time, I watch it and I'm like, some of the stuff like isn't for me, right? It's a bit like cartoony and stuff like that. And you've got Stephanie coming in, and you've got Julia coming in as well. And I mean, some of the female gimmicks, especially like someone like Lola Vice that we were kind of laughing at Heatwave, because like she does something and then just like shakes her ass, and you're like, oh, I'm not really sure about this gimmick fully. Stephanie and Julia coming in, so interesting to see how that changes things, because that's two, I mean, very serious name value world travel wrestlers, and they're not, you know, and no shade to the ex-gymnasts, but they're not like ex-gymnasts who only know wrestling from being taught in the performance center. These are two totally different kind of women. So interesting signing. And it's good that AEW doesn't get everyone that they use, because Stephanie Vaquer would just end up probably in like not a high position, because Tony would be like, oh, well, the fans have already seen her. And it's interesting about these CML contracts as well, because what if WWE just decide tomorrow, like, let's sign Mystico, and then he's obviously doing a match with Jericho in Mexico, but like they can do stuff like that to fuck them over, can't they?
Yeah, and CML seem willing to like let people out the contract when they come calling.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, that's the thing. It's like, I do think right now, I think the AEW Women's Division is booked better than the WWE Women's Division. Come at me, Matty, and WWE fans. But
I'll
historically,
come at you on that too.
when it comes to using people and introducing new characters, you know, AEW doesn't do a great job. And I know putting her on NXT sounds like a downgrade, but like, I think I heard Wade Keller talk about it. Like, if there isn't a perfect spot for her, don't force her in. Like, put her in NXT for a bit. She'll learn where the fucking
that is hot as well.
Yeah. That's it. Make it a hot thing. And they've capitalised on the buzz, haven't they? You know, I couldn't see it because the one-eyed cunt's got me blocked, Shawn Michaels. I should do that at Trent again. But like him announcing it on Twitter and making a big deal of it coming to NXT, and then when there is some like an opening story-wise to put her on main roster, she'll make it. So I get it. I did laugh though, Matty, because like there was a lot of talk like, oh well, you know, she grew up watching WWE, and it's like Steph said, he's fucking. I mean, anyone over the age of 5 did. You know, I don't think that's necessarily a reason, but she has expressed herself. You know, if she had the choice, she'd go to NXT over AEW. But AEW going to get their own wins. They're going to get Ricochet, and that's going to be a win. You know, of somebody who's chosen to leave the WWE safe house and come to AEW. But it's another like PR win for your lot, Matt.
Well, as you say, like I was just saying before when Steph was talking about the choice, and like I could just see that match graphic if she signed with AEW, Vianna J on Rampage after about 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
Just see that match graphic. That's what it'd be. But as you say,
the Vikingo push.
Yeah, that's it.
Next time you see me, he's in a battle royal.
It's right.
And Anna Jay wouldn't get past level up. Anyway.
But it's like, as you say, Ben, let's just see how they capitalise on the buzz, as you say, give her a few weeks off or throw her right in there straight away for the right storyline and see how she gets on and have a few months there before she goes on the main roster. But regarding Ricochet as well, I mean, I don't know, like you're saying there, to win, it's good that, like, as you say, coming out of that safe zone and going back to how he used to wrestle or whatever you want to call it. But we'll see how he gets on, Ben. I don't see a big clamour for Ricochet, like...
We don't have just one lady on the line. We need got a second thing here from women's wrestling correspondent Sadie. Sadie, how's it going?
Good.
Any thoughts on the current wrestling scene, or any questions you want to ask us?
It's quite fake.
You're right there.
I'd say all the way. Garrett's not been teaching you well.
She's a straight shooter.
Who's your favourite wrestler?
What's his name? Marco Stunt.
Marco Stunt. See, Matty, there you go.
Oh, well, I can't argue with that, can I?
He looked good on Collision the other week. Brilliant.
I just wanted to add, Benno, like, because we're all 90s kids, though, wasn't it cool? Yes. Well, apart from City, wasn't it cool that how quick the Stephanie Vaquer thing happened? How they were just like, we signed Stephanie Vaquer, now she's on a show in Mexico, like the next day. I was like, I like that, you know, like drama. Like there was no waiting like a couple of months or anything like that. It was just like
strike 'em while it's hot.
yeah, we're in like a hot period of like just people not jumping ship, but you know what I mean. I just thought it was so cool that they immediately had Stephanie Vaquer like immediately. And as for Ricochet, I mean, it is a win for them, but I see Ricochet as he's, you know, just trying to push himself, kind of like maybe reinvent himself. I don't see him as like any great win for AEW, but I think the most interesting people are going to be the Stephanie Vaquers to see who they decide to go with, and the younger people in AEW to see what they do when their contract's up. Because if you get more people jumping over, like I know he's not that young, but like an Ethan Page or Stephanie choosing WWE, that's and then what does AEW get if they just get the Ricochets and people like that? It's not a very good look.
6-star matches, that's what you'll get, guarantee him, and Ospreay will get rated 6-star. I mean, but this is I don't want to.
Well, you have a good match. That sounds terrible.
No, but that's it, though, isn't it? But this is what Steph. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Steph, but that's what Steph's trying to say about the two companies. Everybody knows it's like you're just getting that. For me, cold ass 6-star match. Who is ass at the end of the day?
That won't be cold, it? That'll be built up.
No, you know what? Will it though? But will it? Seriously, will it? I'm not even like playing a bit. Will
It'll
it
give it pride to place.
I think it will be built up, but I think it will be built up with the prior knowledge of Ricochet and Ospreay's history that not every AEW watcher has, and that will certainly bring in new watchers. And I think that's a mistake.
I think a better example of that is like, and we're going to talk about the All In card a bit later. It's the possibility that right now Will Ospreay is not going to be working for the world title. He's probably not going to be working MJF because they've got him on Dynamite. It might be Ricochet, but like the talk now is it's going to be Pac. And it's like on a black and white bit of paper and with a little bit of thought, because it took me sitting down thinking about it. Oh, I suppose it is two of the big, British guys of different eras. And that's a dream match for some. I mean, for a lot of us, it was a dream match that we saw in Rev Pro. It's happened. But, I could imagine Tony Khan with his little fucking notebook getting dead excited about that. But, that isn't a big enough match for Ospreay for me for All In, especially after how over he was last year. It just isn't because, to your point, Matty, and I hate that I'm agreeing with you, that makes sense as a dream match on paper. But you haven't done the work to have Pac at that level. Yeah. He isn't at that level in AEW. What Pac is as talented as Pac is, you could say he's near Ospreay, absolutely. And on black and white as a match, yes. But he's a guy who's been in a stable with, two lads he wouldn't be seen down the pub with in Pentagon and Phoenix. And don't get me started on Alex Abrahantes. Singles-wise, he's done fuck all. They tried to put him ice cold into the O and tried to main event a Dynamite with him and Claudio. And that quarter died to death, because of course it did, because he's not a pushed commodity who people, are aware of and know. And you've got weeks to heat it up. But, that's a really... If that happens... That is a good example. I think Ricochet's different. Yeah. I think that's a match that you can build up as a legitimate, invasion style. Oh, you're going to see that guy from that side against that guy from this side. But him and Pac, it isn't there really, unless you really use your imagination or you're really embedded. And if you're really embedded, Gareth, you saw it like we did in Rev Pro, at Yorko.
Well, that's it as well. And when you think about the year that Ospreay's had up until this point, then he's been one of the main players, and then to put him in a match of that level, we were talking about Claudio before and the level that he's at. The reality is as good as Pac is and as good as Pac can be, that's where he's pitched, isn't he? He's just been pitched as this mid-card guy who you can put in there and he can lose a ton of matches and you might get the occasional win and keep a certain level of credibility and things like that. It's not the match Will Ospreay should be doing right now. And okay, it's a nice reward for Pac and things, and it's probably a match that Ospreay wants to do. And if you asked Ospreay would probably want to fucking put him over and things like that, just to just knowing the way that he is and the way he works. But Ospreay should be in a proper big time match for Wembley this year, especially based on the reaction that he got last year, especially based on the build that he's had, generally since he came into the company proper this year and the level that he's been pitched at. If that's the match, it's just another example of what are you doing?
It just feels.
Sorry.
Oh, go on, Steph. I was going to say it's not been directly reported, but it's feeling like it is. What else is on the table?
Well, it feels like something Tony would do, but Ospreay, I think what a lot of people are forgetting, was not signed by AEW last year for All In. And he got Jericho as an opponent. And I mean, I know like a lot of people were down on that, but like this year, he's actually part of the company. He actually is like a marquee star of AEW. And
the most match we saw at Forbidden Door was Ospreay, wasn't it?
And to give him Pac, that might be, you know, a dream match rerun or whatever for Tony Khan. But last year you gave him Jericho, someone that the non-watchers, WWE fans coming to the show does actually know. So now I think that he deserved a bigger opponent, and there's actually probably not anyone with Jericho's name value like currently available other than a Moxley. But like, then why not give him like an MJF, who is the guy who a lot of people that aren't that into AEW still seem to know because of his presence. Like, his match this year should be bigger and better than the match you gave him last year when he was like, frankly, a guest star.
Yeah, absolutely. I should point out as well, when I say we saw a lot of people Ospreay match they brought themselves, not match they got.
It's United Empire shit.
Yeah, trackies and that. But
also, it's MJF as well. I know he's not fighting Ospreay at Wembley, but he'll fight Garcia. But that's bringing MJF down as well. Why don't you just have Ospreay and MJF at Wembley? It just made so much sense. And have the Garcia one the week later. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think that pulls MJF down rather than it escalates.
Yeah.
Because they're never going to stick the line with Garcia. They're never going to be consistent with him.
Garcia to NXT, like, please. But you know how much I love Garcia.
I don't know if I want to see that. You're not helping these WWE stand stuff.
I know. But I just think that Garcia like deserves better, and I just don't see him. I don't see them ever like properly the trigger with him. He's always got to be seen as like this like little brother figure that every storyline is like, come on Danny, you can do it, when like that is not how I would use a guy like that at all. But if Garcia is his opponent for Wembley, like that is going to be some absolutely terrible segments in my opinion, because MJF is at his best, I think, when he's faced with a Punk or Jericho that can talk and he can like rise up and meet them. I think he's fucking terrible when he has to go with like a person that's not as good as him on the mic, because he just eviscerates them in like the worst ways possible and points out the worst stuff about them, that I don't think Garcia is going to benefit from this like at all.
No. And if that's a given that they're the two matches, like how are we feeling about like All In as a card? Like obviously they're going. It's definitely a complicated thing to tie. I think we're going to see more All Out crossover than maybe we were all thinking a couple of weeks ago. I think it's going to be not exactly the same as last year, but if Hangman Swerve, for example, happens at All Out, I'm not going to be shocked. What I'm more hoping they'll do is use the fact that Bryan and Swerve is the match to drive up the hate in Hangman and Swerve, and it all pays off later on. But yeah, well, I mean, I'll go to you first, Gareth. What do you make it as a choice to go with, the Danielson Swerve main event instead of the other options on the table? Like I say, could have been Swerve Ospreay then, could have been Swerve Hangman, which is the one we were all expecting. But I suppose using Bryan in these prominent positions is something we have advocated for. If it is like Sting and it's like his last hurrah and they sell it over the next 6 weeks, I can see the argument for kind of going that way in that direction as well. It's just, I suppose, the knock-on effect on what all these other characters are going to be doing on the card now.
Yeah, it's a funny one because it all looked geared a week ago, didn't it? Or a week and a half ago, it all looked geared towards it being Hangman against Swerve. And I think the fact that Swerve had beaten Ospreay, to me, made me think, Danielson's not winning it, because like Danielson Ospreay felt like the play of the matchup that you would do for Wembley Stadium, if you were picking a match for Ospreay and if Danielson was at that level. So it seems weird to me that they've gone they've sort of met in the middle there and gone with probably the least of the three for me personally that could have been the options there. But it's still on this path, aren't we, of trying to elevate Swerve, and again, it just depends how much they're sticking with that. To some degree, if he can go out there and he can beat Danielson at Wembley, again, it's another big sort of main event making moment for Swerve that then just adds further weight to him, adds further credibility to him. But equally, I can see it going the other way, and it can be like, this is supposed to be Danielson's last year, and he's won the belt kind of thing, and it's like, I'm the best, and it's a perfect excuse for him to not to be his last year and keep wrestling and
That's what I mean.
things, and I can totally see that being the way, and that's when you then have the dream matches. I suppose is people trying to take the belt off him, and they can't beat him for the belt, and and eventually someone does.
Go down the list. What haven't we fucking done before you retire? What haven't we done? A Kenny Omega rematch, all of those matches that you can list off. Just do them while you've got them. And
there is money in that. That's like when you're in a world where you're looking at, okay, how do we boost ratings? How do we put more eyes on the product and bumps on seats? Yes, they've tried to elevate Swerve to that level, and it's all well and good, but I think if this is Bryan Danielson having a world title run that is his, this is the final one, this is the final countdown. I don't know, if that's where things get, coming in there. A lot of people are going to be interested in that. He is a big star. He hasn't been presented as the biggest star in AEW. Really has probably been undercooked really for a lot of his run, hidden away in Blackpool Combat Club and things like that, hidden away a bit behind CM Punk. When Punk came in at a similar time as well, Punk was presented a bit more as the guy, the star, but
which, like Cody, he probably wanted, but you tell him fucking no. Mate, your main event in pay-per-views. Sorry. No, mate, you're having the belt. Fuck off. You know what I mean?
This is it, Ben.
You're still Bryan Danielson.
I've never bought, I've got a love-hate relationship with Bryan, because I've never bought this bollocks. I hate the bollocks, and I know he seems a nice guy, but all the bollocks you heard, when he was leaving WWE, he'll go and wrestle on the Indies for nothing, he'll go and wrestle him. No, he won't. He's one of the highest paid wrestlers in AEW. He's going to get paid, and rightfully so. He's a wrestler, you know what I mean? And all this bollocks now of oh no, don't want the world title. Guarantee he wins the belt. Guarantee he wins that belt at Wembley Stadium.
Is that a Matty guarantee?
That's a guarantee, 100%. And it's a smaller scale, but they done a tournament a couple of years ago, obviously. I didn't even mean that. But there was a final. It was Miro v. Bryan, was it at a Full Gear? And I remember Gary and Crewy were like, oh yeah, Miro. I said, no, Daniel Bryan's going to beat Miro. Do you know what I mean? All this bollocks that he'll lose all the time. It doesn't happen. It doesn't fucking happen.
He did lose a fair amount.
Did he?
He did.
Really?
He did, yeah. If you look at his record, he's lost more than he should.
Because that sounds like I'm having a go at him mostly there, but I'm not, because as Gareth said, people forget, and even I begrudgingly with the Roman stuff even years ago, he's a massive star. He got over in WWE. He was a huge fucking star, and as you guys have said there, he should be presented as more of the guy in AEW than he has been. So, but I think guarantee Wembley he'll win the belt.
I'm more expecting Swerve to go over, but I don't know. Any thoughts on that, Steph, or any of the rest of the card as it kind of pulls together? What can they do to get over the 40,000 hump? That's another thing someone requested we talk about today.
God,
are they going to hit that next?
They could promote. They could promote the show better.
You could do that.
They could have wrestlers doing
infrastructure.
British TV before the week of. But anyway, because they haven't even sold out the Cardiff show, right?
That's wild. They will. But it's wild that they haven't.
But it is wild that it has not sold out immediately. I wish I'd put a wager on that.
1,000 tickets does a shift for that. Nuts.
That's what happens, mate, when you just have cold ass matches, mate. That's what happens.
Don't worry. WWE managed to shift 380 at 900 quid a ticket in 24 hours before the
they did. It was
show in Scotland. Apparently. That happened. WWE said that happened. It happened.
WrestleTix reported that happened. WrestleDomics reports that happened. Don't get me started.
Who bought them, Paul?
Maybe.
So, if AEW was hot, that Cardiff show, the tickets would be gone, because if I was to call myself an AEW fan, going to a Dynamite was very important to me, and I only went to one after I went to my first pay-per-view because of how the scheduling worked. And it's quite wild to me that there are all these people in the UK who have never been to a Dynamite that could not sell out that show. I don't think that's a good sign, and they will sell out eventually, but I mean immediate sellout. There should be people fighting for tickets on that. Swerve and Danielson, I honestly, I wanted it to be Swerve and Hangman. And I know that Swerve and Hangman means that the title is not the center of it. The center is their personal issues. But to me, that is a huge match. It's a heated match. These guys work their best together. Like, they are their best partners. And after like the comedy shite that we were given in the main event of All In last year, I would love to see two guys that actually hate each other fighting for a world title on the biggest stage that AEW has. Like, I would have loved that. I do think that Brian is going to lose to Swerve because I think that they're on this track of just trying to show how fully behind they are Swerve. You know, Ospreay offered to lose to him. That's a weird story, but that happened. And I think that like Danielson is next. And I think maybe they'll run it back when they go to the Washington State for one of their upcoming pay-per-views. I forget which one, but before the end of the year, then Washington State, they might run it back there. But yeah, it's a good match, Swerve Danielson, but I think Hangman would have been cooler. What do you think Hangman's going to do at Wembley?
I was going to ask that question.
Because if he's in a multi-man, I am walking out of that show before Tony lets me walk out of the press conference.
I think it's going to be Okada. I think it's because they'll build up the... It'll come out of blood and guts. But again, is it... In AEW, Okada being Okada, but in AEW canon is Okada at that point.
This could be the point match, to make Okada actual Okada. I think
maybe,
I went through this idea when I was on the Torch, but yes, Blood and Guts, I see something happening very similar to the Kingston Jericho situation, but they actually follow through in it, where Hangman wants to get the win on Swerve, and it's Okada that like takes it from him, and then he goes after Okada, and then because they're both going to be heels, but everyone is cheering Okada anyway, and that might give Okada the moment to like ditch this whole elite comedy thing, which I know some people like, but like, this is fucking Okada. Like, I mean, no matter how good the man is in the role, like Okada used to be like God, like wrestling God, and now he calls people a bitch. So it could be like the moment for Okada to come out and actually be the Rainmaker, because he hasn't wrestled like the Rainmaker since he's come to AEW either.
Cool, can't wait for that 45-minute match that I will definitely be in the stands for. It's going to be good.
At least 45.
That's the finishing stretch match. That's not the match. We lived through a lot of them. You were lucky to avoid the spotlight era of that. A lot of them are great, in fairness. But yeah, I was going to say, anything else on All In, Steph, before we do let you go? Sorry, we've kept you. You're in the middle of your work shift, aren't you? We've kept you.
Don't publicise that. What the fuck?
Sorry, I didn't say who for. You know,
cut that. Please cut my Saraya rant as well. Though actually, I would enjoy her coming for me personally. It is not going to be a three-way. Liam says in the chat that would be terrible. Any other Wembley thoughts? I think Mariah and Tony will be a big match at Wembley, and I don't see. I'm trying to think of what other matches they might do. Has Mercedes set an opponent? Am I just blanking on that?
Britt.
Oh, Britt. Yeah, that will be big as well. But they have definitely changed in that they're actually properly like building up a card. People are actually talking about it as a big show. I like that. I think there's still more that they could do. And I think the Chicago All Out is going to be interesting. Maybe they get like the leftovers or whatever this year. I think we're going to get Jericho Joe too, because I think that
he'll be back by then.
Matty
will be there for
that. Joe will be back for Wembley, and also I know that there's a theory that Jericho is just like basically making fun of Punk with this character, so he has a match with Joe. However, and if this happens, I want to put a wager in this happening. Before the match with Joe, we go backstage and we see Jericho having a backstage fight with someone and then going out for the match with Joe.
That'll happen at some point on that show, though, Steph. Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that'll happen.
If he does that, like it will be like he has a fight with, I don't know, like maybe him and like Big Bill have a bit of a scrap, and then Brian Keith is like, no, like, you know, go out there, and he goes out and he does the match just like CM Punk did, because, you know, disrespect Samoa Joe, but. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he could fight with Hook because Hook was there. But
I didn't even think of that. How didn't I think that would happen?
You know what? If that actually wasn't something he was thinking of doing, please, no one send this video to him, because I'm not gonna do it.
You know what's coming next.
Do it.
You never know who's listening to this show. Well, we do.
You never know.
The books will do something about with it. 100%. They'll start getting involved with it.
We're getting Bucks FDR again at Wembley, 100%.
Oh, fuck off.
Can't wait. 2 out of 20 falls, mate.
Are there no other tag teams in the world other than the Bucks and FTR? Like, genuinely, can I say one final thing? Like, what's happened to Jay White? Is he actually injured? Because I was listening to Wrestle Purists, and like, I felt like everybody was hinting at something, but is he really injured? He's been stripped of the trios belt.
I think it's a story thing. It's a stupid story.
Are we going to get main event Jay White?
They had fucking Adam Cole defend the world title for MJF. They had Samoa Joe take Adam Cole's place in the tag team and defend the tag belt, the ROH tag belts with MJF. However, the fucking, I don't know if you've seen this, Gareth, the Bullet Club Gold tried to enact the Freebird rule, and Christopher Daniels, the hero authority figure, said that's not allowed and stripped them of the belts. And now they're having a match for the vacant belts at the pay-per-view. Like, what? Or on a Dynamite.
Just been in the match for the belts.
Like, just do the Freebird rule. It's like, I know it's stupid, but like, it's the easiest, because you want to get Jay out of that. I support that. Yeah. Jay shouldn't be in the trios champion. That should be. Now that Juice Robinson's back, Juice Robinson should just be slotted into that role, and we're probably getting to that point. But like, there's just no consistency, is there? Like, that, it's almost like maybe Tony Khan's got like a deep-rooted hate of the Freebird rule for some reason.
No, he's got a deep-rooted hate of Jay White. He's got a deep-rooted hate of Jay White. Sorry.
There is that, yeah.
He should have just stripped them of the title and just went and put them in a bin somewhere and forgot about them all. Like, forgot about
all nine of them.
That would have been a better move,
yeah. If you think the tag division isn't a well-defined division, fuck me, those trios belt. But again, we're challenging JP, and we're channeling old school Spotlight here, Steph, with you coming on defending the honour of Jay White, like you did to Joe Lemon once on the street in London the first time we met. So
hey, I think
good that some things stay historic. Yeah, I think you did a little bit.
Well, thank you very much for having me on to speak. I'm sorry that I probably like steamrolling over everyone, so like my sincerest apologies. Benno knows what that's like with me.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, that's my life.
Yeah.
The worst was like that day when I lost my voice when I was in Toronto. You took over for both of us, so it was fine.
Oh no, the day when you lost your voice, and then the next day you explained that to my mom and was like, "Oh, you know how like Steph won't stop talking? Imagine what it's like with no voice." And my mom's like, "Yeah, I know. She's really annoying."
That's how I win your mum over, just slagging you off to her. It's great.
Yeah, for sure.
Or you just tell us stupid stories about me doing stupid stuff. That seems to be
I do do that.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well, yeah, it's been boss having you on. And obviously, people can go read your stuff, your Substack. She Digressed is the new title.
Yeah, She Digressed is the name of the newsletter, but it's probably going to turn into the name of the Substack. But you can find the Substack just Stephanie Chase, not like at or wrestling or whatever. Substack Stephanie Chase. It's free to subscribe because then I have my Substack looks better. But yeah, thank you guys.
Good to
great having you up.
See you soon.
Bye.
I'll see you in a bit. Great stuff. Yeah, and a monk called me a plonker in the last text exchange. I can't remember what the story was or the reason why. It was something daft I did at some point. I'll get her to remind me on chat. But oh well, that's what you get being the Englishman in the household. But there we go. Anything else on that All In AEW? Should we go into? We've got a few other subjects we're gonna hit before we get out of here. Did you just know there's an ROH pay-per-view coming up? Matty found that out. You're gonna be on the weekend show, me previewing it with me. I'm sure you can't wait.
I'll do my research. Like I will tell. I'll do it.
Well, this comes in light of Cary Silkin saying Tony Khan is not treating ROH very well, which is an understatement of the year. And Cary's been very quiet when it comes to new ROH. Apparently, he was on Matt Memories with Madison Square Gardeners podcast with John Arezzi, and probably was telling stories of scalping tickets outside MSG. He lived at a life. Did Cary Silkin? Was he Jim Belushi's coke dealer? I think he was at one point as well.
Was he? Yeah.
What a bloke! Yeah. Still wishes me a happy birthday every year, Cary Silkin. He's one of them people on Facebook pops up, "Happy birthday, Benno." I get it. I'm made up every time, and I reply, "Go, oh, nice one, Cary. How's things?" And don't get a reply back. But I'm still happy that he remembers every year. It's we go back, me and Cary. But yeah, he's kind of essentially saying, ROH feels like a bit of an afterthought, which is to say the least when it comes to this version of ROH. And yeah, he doesn't think Tony Khan has done the history of ROH justice. And as the ROH stalwart in this podcast, can't help but agree. Again, the fact that it's in such a weird place because we've got this pay-per-view coming up. And when I say pay-per-view, it's on Honor Club. And how many people subscribe to Honor Club? 10 to 15,000. I think it's about 10,000 at this point. And then it's not even like they've decided ROH is the separate universe where to see Mark Briscoe, you have to tune into to ROH to get it. He'll turn up on Dynamite and do a couple of jobs, and he'll be in multi-bands, and he'll be like the side character, and you'll forget he's even the ROH World Champion. To be honest, everybody except for some of the female wrestlers in ROH you see on AEW anyway, and you're kind of supposed to just assume that, assume their history and buy that they're, these threats because it's happening on an ROH show that nobody ever watches. And then the only time you do hear about it is either being slagged off by someone like by Cary Silkin there, or when there's literally a pay-per-view round the corner and Tony Khan remembers and starts just frantically booking matches and throwing shit at a wall. It's just, yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? It's like NXT. I didn't necessarily love the live show I went to when I was in Toronto, but I can understand why NXT exists now. If anything, I think it's in a better place than it even was in the old black and gold days. At least it has you were always critical of it, weren't you, Gareth, of having a place in that WWE ecosystem. Whatever we thought about Vince McMahon's main roster, it was so different to what they were doing on NXT that it wasn't necessarily doing its job as developmental. Whereas now, for all the negative you can say, there's a clear pipeline. Shawn Michaels clearly talks to Triple H. There's a clear someone from NXT will go to main roster and essentially be the same act, and won't get all their parts stripped often that happened to so many people in the past. That could be the role of ROH, couldn't it? Instead, it's this weird albatross that's just more content, isn't it? More hours of stuff and more stuff for me and Matty to preview next week, Gareth.
I think the biggest thing is it's just it could be the opportunity to so many problems that AEW have got when you look at roster size and you look at these people who just sort of flit in and out. You look at these people who are just misused. It's right there. ROH. It could be this place that is its own separate universe, that is booked differently, that is booked by somebody differently, that is a place where Pac can be the world champion and it means something or something like that, or Daniel Garcia can be the top, a top guy who's challenging for that belt and winning that belt and things. And that, if you want to see him, that's where you've got to go, because I think that's one of the problems when you look at people like Garcia, because they've been gobbled up so young in their career. They haven't had that indie run and things like that to build their name and build their matches and things like that. They're sort of right in there, and then it's if you're not at the top now, or there's not a logical, structured push over a number of years for you to get there in a tiered way, then after a while you become just a guy kind of thing, and people have seen you, and they've seen you 30 times a year on a TV show and things. Whereas because ROH is something that it would almost be a product that's a bit more hardcore, that you're having to pay to watch and things like that, it does sort of hide people away a little bit, but in a good way, where they can learn, where they can build, where they can become more and things like that. And then when they do get pulled across to AEW, it's like a fresh act. It's like a new signing. It's like somebody who means something when they're coming in. It's something that'd be a bit imagine if Garcia had a run as ROH champion and was on top for a year and having really good matches and just getting a chance to build his character as a credible thing, and then he gets beat at that end of that run, and then suddenly he's showing up on Dynamite. It's like, whoa, Garcia's here kind of thing. Not like, oh, he's this guy who's in his third stable of the year and just been like wrestling and losing to top guys and wrestling in 6 months and getting a bit of a push and then getting beat. It's literally right there. It's almost like I just want to have the time to like boot up EWR and just like book this separate ROH universe with some of the roster that's like sat there on an AEW, because it should be happening. Somebody's, it's another place for somebody to generate ideas as well. And I can't argue with like Cary Silkin there. Like you probably had them hopes when it looked like ROH was dead, and then Tony Khan bought it, and then with the reputation of Tony Khan's fandom, you thought, he is going to treat it right. He is going to use it in that way. He is going to use it as a bit of a breeding ground. It is going to be like somewhere that, maybe someone else gets a chance to book and things, but it just hasn't. It's just it's a total afterthought, and it just bleeds across into the AEW product, which means that its importance is lessened with every single time that happens.
If my plan A is developmental, to be honest, that's probably my plan B. My plan A is for it to be a vanity promotion, is for Tony Khan to dig into his fandom and use the fact that 10,000 sickos in his terminology watch it to run fucking, the New Yorker. I don't know if the New Yorker Ballroom's still available, but do you know what I mean? Like, run the Frontier Fieldhouse, run Philadelphia, run those GCW staples, just do what they do, run their shows with a promotion that size, with guys like that, your spare parts that you're not using on your
main roster,
quote unquote. Yeah, absolutely. And you say Garcia there, and people might go, I don't know if I want to see that. Imagine he could be a different wrestler, like Wheeler Yuta turned up. Remember, he came back to AEW and he was dragging along with him a belt, and it was like, what belt's that? It's the pure belt that he hasn't been seen because he's not been on telly for a year. Apparently he's still the champion, but like a year away from AEW TV, you might develop a new character, like you say. You might develop a completely new look and a new working style, and it might just be a completely different human by the end of it. You don't know what people could do in a sandbox like that. And that would, to be honest, actually be my plan A. Developmental would be plan B. But it, like you say, neither of those paths get chosen for it. And, so I'm a bit distracted by Steph telling a story there in the chat that the last thing a mum called me a plonker for was because I put sugar on my chips instead of salt. That happened in a diner by the Brooklyn Bridge. Matty, I thought you'd enjoy. I was like, why are these chips really sweet? They taste really strange. Well, these are weird chips these Americans have. And then I realised I'd emptied sugar all over my plate. Yeah, fucking moron. But Steph's mum had a good laugh at that, so that's a long relationship. But yeah, like I say, that could be something, couldn't it? Could be PWG for the masses. It could be anything really that gives it identity outside of more belts and more wrestlers.
Be honest though, serious. Do you know the main events of this pay-per-view? Because I've just looked it up. Does anyone know here?
Oh my god, that's a good test. Athena versus Billy Starks, maybe.
No, there's a women's world title and a men's world title match. Can anyone name them? Go on. No one in the chat put it in.
That would be my guess for the women's. Men's, Mark Briscoe versus... I don't know. Commander, is he alive? I'm sure he was injured, wasn't he? I don't know.
Gareth.
Roderick Strong.
Yeah, it's Roderick Strong.
Is it?
I promise I did not know that. I promise that was. I purely thought who's there been a remote interaction with on AEW TV that means that
he beat
probably
Dalton Castle on Collision apparently for the number one contendership.
Right, okay. Fair enough.
I swear I didn't know that.
This is like when I found out the other day that Roosh apparently is joining the Don Callis family. Did we know that happened? On a Rampage, apparently. Rushi was being built up to face MJF. Like, he's in the Don Callis family as like the 8th string guy, and we've not heard anything about it since because he's not important enough to find out. That's hilarious. Yeah, Simon says he made the cake with salt instead of sugar. Steph, send that to your mum. There you go. Perfect.
That would taste bad. That would taste awful, that cake.
But there we go. Yeah, can't argue with Cary Silkin on that one when it comes to ROH. But yeah, there's like I say, we'll be previewing that. So I'll have to learn that card and the.
There's 3 matches been announced, Benno.
What's the third one?
It's for the Ring of Honor Women's Television Championship. I've just closed. I think Red Velvet's in there. I've just closed the tab. So yeah, 3 title matches been announced.
I read those results on Weekend Show every weekend. They drop out the other side of my head, to be fair. But there we go. But yeah, speaking of such promotions, one I think deserves a story that deserves a little bit of attention is TNA selling out Slammiversary. Caught my eye because I think obviously we talk about the WWE TNA kind of relationship, and I think people do jump to the negatives right away. You know, the fact that they're getting free use of Joe Hendry on NXT, and is he getting over right now, Matty, on NXT TV, and then WWE will send like wrestlers who sound like they've been made up in the name generator to back to TNA, who will then, probably beat their guys. And it feels, JP will always say it, read a history book, feels like quite a one-sided relationship. But to say TNA getting nothing out of it, I don't think would be true. I think they've been largely an irrelevant promotion, and they've been made a little bit more relevant by the WWE relationship. And yeah, they've sold 4,000 tickets for Slammiversary, which is taking place in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. If you would like that put into context, the last Dynamite in Montreal, Quebec, Canada did 5,000, but the last Collision did 3,000. So they're doing better than Collision.
That's good, that is
obviously,
good,
if the
not that the Montreal crowd.
Take it.
What's that, mate?
They've loaned them Drew. I'll take it.
maybe that's helped. But there we go. 4,000 tickets. There's clearly more of an hype being played on them, and hopefully the crowd are louder than some of the Canadian crowds. As much as I love Canada, AEW have been getting, but it does say there's a positive there.
But you know what? I've just put 2 and 2 together, isn't it? And that's why he's still getting used, PCO.
There you go, easy draw, yeah. That's the reason they've sold.
Do you know who he's wrestling though, Benno? He's wrestling your best mate, Top Dollar, mate. That's the match. That's the fucking match. 4,000 fans to pay to see.
That's the negative in it. The card looks fucking rotten.
It looks bad. It looks bad.
6-way elimination match with Frankie Kazarian, Nick Dolph Ziggler, Nemeth, Josh Alexander, Steve Macklin, and Joe Hendry, and Moose. Christ. They're biggest since they did 7,000 fans apparently lockdown 2013 at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Don't know if you got any takes on that, Gareth.
Have they got any lads left for any of the matches? If they're putting all of them in that world title match,
get it up, get the card.
It's embarrassing. The card, we'll get it up. Yeah, it's not looking good.
I mean, fair fucks to them. Like, it's good because again, it's one of those things with the relationship with WWE. Everyone's going to talk about it being one-sided and things, and largely it will be. But I'm made up to see them do that. It's always good to see them do a good bit of business. And if there's if there is a hot crowd in there for it, because it's anytime you've got to sell out in an arena that size, it should hopefully be a good atmosphere. Looking at that card, there's not a lot there for
Bailey Alley. Will be good.
Me personally.
Well, Grace will have to carry.
We saw that 5 times over WrestleMania weekend, did we?
Yeah,
I was going to say, yeah.
But Grace will have to carry, obviously, the former Dana Brooke there for the Knockouts Women's Championship. But as you say, Gareth, they could have at least had a 4-way and maybe give a couple of the lads a singles match out of that, couldn't he? Even like Nemeth and Alexander or something, just gives another marquee match. But PCO, lads, honestly, he must have a lot to do with this. He must.
Local marketing does it all. He always did well, those Montreal indies back in the day. I've got some tape somewhere that's got a PCO versus CM Punk in 2006. Bought the DVD purely based off the cover. Match wasn't up to much, Matt, but it's physical. Maybe I can pass it to you.
Does Phil get the win, or is he still not jobbing in Canada, PCO? Because that Nash story in a Gareth from years ago.
I think Phil did the job.
Would he? You did he's Hogan, he's Terry in when he comes to Montreal, isn't he, PCO?
Those WCW shows they did there, they would headline them, wouldn't he?
Jacques taught him well.
Yeah, he taught him well.
There you go. But Connor said, that main event should be
W over Hogan, didn't he, in Canada?
That's what I was going to say, that's the legend, isn't it? Hogan was like, respect, I'll put you over, brother. But the main event should be a King of the Mountain match. I agree with at that
event, especially,
Yeah. Something worth mentioning, like I say, there is obviously negatives, and WWE are they're taking Joe Hendry, aren't they, Matty? Based on TV. He's literally the biggest star in outside of Ethan Page, which is hilarious as their world champion. He's the biggest star on telly right now on NXT.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about someone who's just. I seen he come out with Elk Trick, didn't he? I can't believe it. I mean, I don't know where to stand on the Joe Hendry. I haven't really thought about it. I've not thought about it, but I don't know where. Really don't know where to stand, because you just got to admire the fact of how over he's getting, though, haven't you? Whether you like him or not, considering like where he's come from and stuff. And he was finished a couple of years ago, wasn't he? Really, he really was. When he was in Ring of Honor, wasn't he? And then he come to the TNA. Honestly, he's done amazing for himself, and fair play to him, lad.
Yeah, he was at North as well at the weekend. Connor said he was live, saw him there.
All you need is a song or a catchphrase.
This is it,
that's it.
This is it, lad.
But when you see like people like JBL tweeting about it, I've been going on YouTube. I got into like a wormhole watching Joe Hendry promos. It's like fair enough. Fair enough. For people who haven't seen the act before, it's a bit worn on us now, isn't it? Because we've seen all the jokes and the songs and stuff he's done over years. But yeah, that NXT audience are fucking eating it up. Any thoughts on how Ego's doing, Matt? Being booked strong.
Love his
we knew we'd get that over, didn't we?
Yeah,
Daft
theme.
Theme. No one else would get that over. And Daft theme too, yeah.
4.5-star match according to Dave, mate. I love that main event.
I couldn't believe that. It was all right. I came up on my YouTube and I watched it, and they had the full match on there. And I'd be like 3.25, mate. 4.5.
Fucking brilliant. I did enjoy that. I think I said last week when we reviewed it, I enjoyed it. Probably the match of the night, and I didn't mind the finish. Obviously, Michael's paying homage like he always does to his own finishes and his own angles. But he's done well. I love his theme, Benno. Just proper heelish, arrogant theme. And as you say, if anyone's going to pull it off at that level, especially, it is your man Ego, Ben. Long may it continue.
There we go. He's in the right place for him. Like I say, never going to be a world beater in ring, but it's NXT. You don't have to be, do you? Like I say, guilty pleasure if I'm allowed to use such a phrase in front of
no, you just like him.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, it's
you don't have to
like...
feel shame. You don't have to feel shame about it.
I do feel shame.
It's okay.
Sorry, it's still Ethan Page, at the end of the day. But do like him. But yeah, speaking of that, the only other major story kind of dropped today. Shame we didn't get a chance to speak to Steph on it, but there was a little bit more on the Janel Grant case today. Obviously, it's got a little bit quiet since the case was set aside. But Brandon and John doing the Lord's work, as reporting that Janel Grant has filed a petition for records against the Wellness Doctor that is said to treat WWE talent and employees. So this is apparently Vince McMahon's personal doctor. He was in some documentary. It was a Bigger, Faster, Stronger. I think he was in. I saw some of the Dig It Out today. He looks like what you'd imagine the physician that Vince McMahon once would look like. But yeah, apparently Janel Grant was on Vince McMahon's direction, doing visits to him where she was prescribed adrenal trays and adrenal supplement trays and asked to take unmarked pills daily. Was never explained to what these substances were or what they were for outside of purportedly addressing her symptoms of fatigue, and when she asked about it, she was specifically told, "If you don't trust me, we have bigger problems." So yeah, quite a nasty situation there. And then it apparently when she was I think the very last visit she ever made to him, she was told directly that she needed to pay for the treatment herself and find a way to pay for it because it wasn't being paid for by McMahon anymore. And then when she was discussing that with her, it was said to her something along the lines of, "Oh, is the NDA the issue?" Indicating that perhaps this physician knew a little bit more about what was going on between her and Vince McMahon, and clearly a lot of this is very much part of like that control element of the story, Gareth. But yeah, interesting that this is being brought up by Janel Grant's side.
I mean, without obviously knowing the details of this specifically, I think this idea that sort of net's widening and then you're pulling in these other parties as well. Like you look at it and you just think that it's more people who can, I suppose, be implicated, can take the stand in sort of any legal case and things like that. It's it's sort of taking it broader away from the he said, she said element to it as well, which can only be a good thing in terms of making sure that hopefully this gets the outcome that it should get by all accounts based on the information that's presented. But again, it just your mind just goes, doesn't it? Like you're reading this and then you're just thinking about that my mind's always just goes to, well, what else was going on? What else is like, what are the elements of control is going on in this relationship, not just with her, but with like other people beyond that, and for how long and for how many years. It just, all of this stuff just feels like tip of the iceberg stuff. And, again, you just sit there hoping that it's all extra weight that leads to some outcome that should be, as opposed to him fucking wheedling his way out of it, which is probably what I expect to happen, that money would talk in some way, but it's just an odd, increasingly odd situation.
I hope, like, obviously, in Discovery we find more out, like what it, they're going to dig into those, medical records and find out, like, what was there a legitimate medical reason she was being prescribed these drugs, or was it part of a bigger, even more sinister, story that we know already, that Vince McMahon has got, somebody from the medical side on payroll, or has taken influence from him and, determining what gets prescribed to Janel Grant. If you want to talk like trafficking as a wider thing, that could absolutely, form part of the story as well. So clearly, there's a bigger picture there that we may well find out. But yeah, that's him, Vince McMahon's personal doctor there, from Bigger, Faster, Stronger, babyface heel, managed to pull as well. But doesn't shock you, does it, Matty? None of this stuff. The darker it continues to get.
No, it's just horrible. It just makes you sick to your stomach, doesn't it? The more you read about it, horrible.
Yeah. That's it, and obviously, go have a look at Babyface versus Heel, David Bixenspan's newsletter, where they've dug up a few details of different parts of history with Vince McMahon's personal physician, Dr. Colin Colker, has come up in various weird and wonderful stories over the years. But very, very clearly somebody within Vince McMahon's inner circle there, and another very dark part of this story. But yeah, moving on from there, and obviously, as we find out more, I'm sure we'll talk more on that on the weekend show. Were there any other stories, lads, you wanted to touch on as we go through? I was going to mention quickly before we get into more WWE stuff, Gareth. I did find interesting. We talked before about the All In numbers, and again, I'm sure they'll hit 50,000, but I still can't help but feel like there's been talk of an AEW Stadium show in Texas in 2025, which is apparently part of the deal to get the Collision tapings that they've been doing out there. Major stadium show planned for some point in 2025. Would it shock you if that turned out to be 2025's All In, or do you think that's as me and JP were talking about on the weekend show, a lock for Wembley next year?
Who knows? I guess probably a big part of it will have to do with what Wembley ultimately ends up doing this year. But obviously Canada was rumoured, wasn't it, as a alternative for all in as well. Like if if this has been thrown into the mix, it doesn't feel the right time to be doing like a fucking stadium of that size in America based on what they're able to draw elsewhere. It feels like suicides to me to be trying to hit something like that. There's almost feels like there's a little bit of the based on last year with Wembley, a little bit of kind of like, if we book it they will come sort of thing, and okay, that was it for the British market, and it'd been Wembley and a big show and things, but we've seen how sustainable that is with the where the ticket sales are for that this year. Like, I don't know in what worlds they'd be expecting to do stadium size numbers in the US based on what they've done for TV and pay-per-views. It just
college football stadium would be too big, wouldn't it?
Just Friday Night Lights stadium. Fucking, I think that'd be too big for them at the minute. But it's almost like they're just setting themselves up for a fall to be laughed at. I think I don't know what they could possibly do to draw a good number there, like £1 a ticket.
Give them away, it's bait for you, Matty, so I'm not going with you on this one. But if All In isn't in the UK next year again, I'm becoming a truther on that. I just think there's going to be smoke to that fire, and I think that will piss people off because we've thought of it as our own thing. This might not necessarily be All In. It might just be another stadium show. I guess Arthur Ashe, they're doing Dynamite and Rampage there this year, and that counts as a stadium show. They're not going to fucking fill that thing for just a regular.
But Ben,
call it halving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but be serious, Benno. You say you're not coming, but 40,000, no matter, even if it is an 80,000 stadium, that's nothing to be sniffed at. That's some fucking going still. And as you say, it's going to be near a 50 come bell time. That's still one hell of a fucking attendance. Like, so if they're going to get 40,000 in America, I mean, they'd have to load it up. They'd have to get some names in. They'd have to do something, mate.
Definitely. On that note, any WWE you want to talk, Matty? What you make of the solo follow-up this week?
Mate, when I see that,
we just go straight to the SummerSlam poster?
Mate, when I seen that on Twitter on Saturday morning, I was fucking.
I bet your reaction was the same as mine, mate. You put your head in your hands and cried a little bit at the idea that this is now reality. No,
I absolutely fucking live for it, Benno. I just thought of you straight away as well.
Oh my god.
I seen all the memes though. Do you see all the memes going around as well? You know, if I'm like, yeah, what was
Too Fast, Too Furious, wasn't it, mate? That's where they're pulling it from.
Yeah.
Clearly,
and I seen the McDonald's memes and the fucking Barbie memes and whatever else you wanted to put on people making.
Oh my god! But yeah, Solo in the Solo in the driver's seat. I'm just bringing it up.
It's
now. Is he?
It's Tamatonga, I think, is in the driver's seat.
Who's the wheelman here, Gareth?
Solo's the passenger.
I'm Solo.
In the match and in the car.
As a wheelman, Gareth, are you offended that Solo's got wheelman gloves on despite very clearly not driving?
I said this to Matty. I've said that to Matty in the chat. I think it was. I'm fully expecting him to turn up in some wheelman gloves, even though he's going to be getting the free ride down to Wembley. If he doesn't turn up in a pair, then I'll be disappointed.
I'll have to get some now, guys. Just the lads there, Ben, just making that stamp of the official, mate. That the main of the true main.
How do you reckon they decided who went where? How do you reckon they decided Tama was the driver in this case? Sure, I would have had Jacob in that seat. No,
he's the right hand man, Benno, isn't he? So he's Solo's right hand man. So he'll do whatever. Yeah. That's the watch. Oh, you only watch Raw, don't you? You don't watch SmackDown.
Only 3 hours of it, mate. And I did watch SmackDown this week. I'm not doing any TV reviews this week because not like Collision, like Rampage, nothing fucking happened on SmackDown.
Did you not watch the last bit of SmackDown? No, did you not see Randy and Cody's little sit down as well, teasing that slow?
It's me you're after. It's me you're after. Oh, great,
unbelievable!
Cody, I've got to say,
that was unbelievable. Take me,
come for me,
take me. Yeah, that's what he was saying. Unbelievable stuff. And obviously,
there you go, Gareth. Get on the Photoshop. Get me, JP, Matty, and you on.
You've got to Photoshop that, Gareth, please. You've got to for the live show. You've got to.
So, who are you, Matty? Tangaloa?
No, that would be JP just to piss him off so much. That would offend him more than anything in life. That.
Yeah. Well done, Angle. Though. Still don't want to see the match. Any follow-up thoughts on our conversation from last week?
No, I just like it's. He's not going to win, is he? Of course, Solo. So I don't see, a big. I'm more calm this week. I'm not him. I think you are because we're late in the day.
Some people think he's going to win. Some people legit. I saw someone tweet that today. How mad the WWE fans are going to be when it happens. Like,
no chance.
I mean, even they're not that. They're daft enough to put him in the match, which again is just an unforced error for me. You just don't have to do it. You can do a multi-man instead. It's going to be bad enough when him and Roman get in there one-on-one, Matty. I know you'll be crying tears, but good.
I absolutely love it.
Well, that'd be rough. Look, Roman couldn't do it with Jay. He's not doing it with Solo, but yeah.
I said in the Discord, it's been a year since Tribal Combat. I have to get down the rewatch. I might change my mind.
You probably will.
But I don't know.
It was a good segment on SmackDown.
It was good. And it's
still
good.
Don't see the match.
It's playing into obviously Orton and Cody again, isn't it? To their feud down, just adding juice and the emotion when that turn happens, but we'll see. Ben, although they want to mention, I don't know, I've seen it reported, Roman apparently he's meant to be coming back before SummerSlam. Cannot see that. I mean, that's just bananas to me. He's got to turn up probably at the event, hasn't he? Really, but we'll see.
You'd be made up, wouldn't you? If Roman didn't turn up till 2026, you'd say that's a better story, wouldn't you? I reckon you'll be annoyed if he turns up at SummerSlam.
Oh no, I've got withdrawal symptoms now, Ben. I need to see him back. I've been watching a lot of Bloodline stuff on YouTube. We need to get him back now. Like, get to heat him even Solo up, and then eating the War Games up and get into Mania season. That's what we need.
we'll see. I'm waiting to see where Survivor Series is. Might have something planned around November. But
don't be wasting yourself again, Ben. I'd hate that. I'd hate it if you went.
Imagine I went. Imagine I went. It looks like it's going to be LA, so I don't think so. But okay. In North America around then, if things line up, fingers crossed. We'll see. But yeah, unless there's any thoughts on that, the White Six had their first in-ring segment this week. Punk Drew is official. They're the only other real WWE takes to take, or semi-official. They've still got Seth Rollins kind of just hovering around, just in case it feels like, in case like Punk's shoulder pops out or something like that, or he needs a three. But apparently it's not a three-way. Apparently they are going to do the match that has been built well with them two one-on-one, and presumably Seth and Punk happens at some later date. But yeah, sounds like Punk's going to be good to go for SummerSlam.
Gareth, taking this to you, I know you probably haven't seen most of it, but how do you feel about your man Phil in there with Drew at SummerSlam, mate? It's been built up well, like, or are you just not having it at all?
I have tried. Like, it's funny. Like, when I think about like how I spent a decade praying every week, is this going to be the week that CM Punk comes back, kind of thing? And then he's come back and he's now on my telly, and I'm just not asked remotely. Like, it's just like watch little YouTube snippets, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't think he's as good. Like, to be honest, to be brutally honest, I don't think he's as good as he once was. I'm not buying him as much in this role either. It's not just a Drew thing. I'll watch it probably, kind of it, but it's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, like definitely want to see that, which blows my mind. Like as a CM Punk thing.
Benno, do you think that match will be good though? Do you actually think the match will be good? If you just have a scrap, that's what I mean. They've got to have just a fight, haven't they?
I think they're going to have to, because they built it so, like, I do like this program. You know, ironic Drew love aside, or all the stupid arguments we have about it, I think that what they have done a really good job at is making you believe they hate each other. Like, I haven't felt like two WWE wrestlers hate each other, like, in ever, I think, or at least in the last 20 years or something like that. And once you've got that level of heat, and I think they went to the well too many times with Punk making Drew look daft, but once you've done that, how can you have the match and have it just bell rings, headlock? Punk knows that, doesn't he? Like, he's got enough influence to make sure it's and it'd be better for him, I think, you know, ironically, despite the fact that he's always in danger of falling apart, some kind of bells and whistles scrap where it's more...
No moves, just actual, like, strikes.
That'll probably be better for him and would suit what they've done. It's become so personal. It's become such a kind of a grudge feud. And it's hot. It could go on last. If Solo and Cody is the other match, it could go on last, or it will... Even if it doesn't go on last, it will be the main event. It will be the thing that sells the show, because it's the thing that I think is hottest in WWE right now. Obviously, the overall Bloodline story, don't get me wrong, Matty, is gigantically hot, but Cody and Solo as a match, I don't think is as hot as Drew and Punk is as a match right now. And like I say, with the long build behind it, I think it will pay off. I think, SummerSlam will be well watched because of it. And yeah, I get what Gareth's saying. Like, I felt like that about Punk in the Collision run. You know, there's a lot of, like, he goes out there without a script and he does mumble up his words and he does kind of lose his path a little bit in ways that you wouldn't have had in your prime. I'm just more glass half full in that, like, I still, love what we do get, even if it's not quite at that tippy top level. And obviously our disagreements on Drew are well known. But I've enjoyed Drew's work in it, and and the stuff that he's been saying about Punk and such as well. And like I say, even shocked me, Seth Rollins cut a good promo last week. That's
really good.
I don't know if Punk Seth Rollins might be a step too far as like a match I'm looking forward to. But they did do good work in that segment, And like I think we said at the time, didn't we, Matt? Like when Punk is kind of looking at you like, "Gonna have to let you swear there, that was too good." Like,
he did.
Fair play to Seth. Fair play. It'll be the one time in his career. Like,
he'll get him back at some point, won't he? Of course he will. But what about? I know it's not on the note, but quick thoughts on what you think on Gunther and Damian Priest, Ben? Are you just open for a Gunther squash win, the new champion?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's smart, and I think they've been building up Gunther, like just the promos. It's been a lot of video packages for him, hasn't it, while he's been away, to make him like that kind of like he's always over your shoulder type of thing. He's about to come back, and he's always had this title shot on his back pocket, and he should absolutely win. And he, as much as that's not a world title, I think Gunther of all people,
he'll restore, he'll make
defending champ. He'll do what he did with the IC belt, won't he? He'll hold it for a year and it'll become the Gunther belt. That's not quite the Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes belt, but it's a belt of significance. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? And yeah, like, he's mad, isn't he? Because he does interviews like this week where he's just like, yeah, the Wyatts, the fucking crap, aren't they? Like, he's literally still saying stuff like that. Like, when I grew up, I didn't like WWE. I don't like their style. I don't like all these people who go on there and talk about it as their dream. This is the shoot Walter talking here, who's saying all this stuff, and you know he means it. You know he was never a WWE fan. You know he's like, however they've treated me well, he'll still give you his honest take on. You know, he said that, didn't he? Like, same thing we all say about the Wyatt Six. Well, the bell's got a ring. We'll see what they do then. Like, he's not asked about saying it. And yet he's still extremely protected and one of the better booked people in the company over the last couple of years. And I think they'll just do the same again. They'll plug him back in with a different belt, and he'll get that over too, like he did the IC belt. So, yeah, I think that's good work.
Also with Damian Priest, I like the way, even pretty much since WrestleMania, they've kind of made him like babyface on the sly. You know it's coming, don't you? He's always like the cool one out the Judgment Day, and he's always, and even in his character, the way he offered Seth a rematch and stuff like that with what happened, he's got them little babyface elements at the minute. So I think when he does lose the belt, you can just go right into that Finn Balor split and all that. So he'll be protected in that way as well. So yeah, it's win-win all around for me.
And the last WWE point I was going to make, that Wyatt Six in ring segment, like, I don't know. Eric Rowan was good in that little, like, clearly heartfelt promo about Harper and obviously about Brody Lee, and obviously, Brody Lee's wife at the time saying, it brought her to tears and stuff like that. It was because it was real, wasn't it? And because you believed what he was saying. But yeah, I got a bit of a snapshot this week to answer Gunther's point about what's it look like when the bell rings. I guess Bo Dallas is going to just be Bo Dallas, and it's going to be the monsters outside the ring. I don't know how they're going to thread that needle, but yeah, I'm not confident they're going to pull it off this time.
That's always going to be the question until it happens, Ben, isn't it? Who's going to get in there? Like, they're all four of them. I say Rowan just going to be the heavy. We'll wait and see. It looks like Bo, obviously with being the leader, it's going to be Bo Dallas v Gable at some point. So they might do the 6-man, mightn't they? With the Creeds, you just don't know how they're going to start it off.
It's mad that everybody wanted Gable with the Creeds to be like the shoot wrestling kind of stable.
They're going to squash straight away. Yeah.
This is what they're doing. They're working with.
They're going to lose, aren't they? Let's be honest. First match, they're going to lose. So
I can't look at them, Gareth, without thinking about your tweet of like, and the way I'm going to answer all the spookiness is I'm going to beat you 1, 2, 3 in the ring, or however you worded it. Like, that's always going to be the problem, isn't it?
Totally the problem. And well, not a problem for me because I won't be watching it.
Well, there we go. But yeah, I think that's most of the talking points we wanted to get in today. Is there anything else you guys want to be this more like lads in a pub having lads and lady having a chat in the pub? I think we've achieved it tonight. Anything else you want to have a chat about before we have that one last pint and go home, lads? And burning with you, and any hot takes in wrestling that you wanted to mention before we get out of here?
Just mentioning Connor's done a pick'ems any for the G1 in our Discord there, Benno. So I might have a little go at that, or will me mind go when they open it? There's about 1 million matches.
You'll have to catch to win in every match, mate.
Probably, yeah. Are you guys getting involved with that, or?
I don't know if it's got it in me, to go through it and pick who's going to win all those matches. Is there an autofill button? Like when you first play FPL and you can autofill your squad. Connor had that feature, and I'll do it.
Auto book an EWR Benno as well.
Yeah.
I'd literally just be like, it'd be like fucking pin the tail on the donkey. Like, I'd just be like, I've got no fucking idea. Like, when I think in the past, doing like G1 pick'ems of like thinking about the implications of that. He beat him last year, so we'll probably get the win, and like try to think of it in all that like layered detail. Or if he gets the win over him, that means it'll be a title defense in the future against him and things. I couldn't even tell you where to start it. I'm so out of touch with the product that there's no way I could do it accurately. So if I'm in it, I want to win it. So I ain't guessing.
Get on that dog, Gareth. Get picking them like
completist to the end. But yeah, if you want a proper preview of the G1, Bruce Lord's done a great job over on Post. Big fan of Bruce. What a man. He's gone through the ins and outs of the background of all the characters. So if you do want to catch up on the G1, you can get that over there. Addition by subtraction is the article. And yeah, thank you to Connor, who's has done a lot. If it's going to take us a long time to fill the form in, it's taking Connor longer to put it together. So God bless him for putting it together for us. What a man.
Superstar.
But yeah, anything else on burning on your mind, Gareth? Wrestling or non-wrestling? Anything else you want to say before we go?
I think so.
Covered it all, haven't we? Covered the words.
Yeah, covered it all tonight.
Very much enjoyed it. Well, we've missed JP, but I think we've had a corker of a show still tonight. Hopefully, he's sunning himself at this point. He's going to be away for a week, isn't he? We'll hopefully have him back for the Patreon shows come next weekend. But yeah, speaking of which, like I say, enjoyed having Steph on tonight, and enjoyed having Simon on earlier, who gave us his choice. We're going to be reviewing over on the Patreon Randy Savage and DDP's feud in WCW across 1997. So we're all very excited to do that with Simon this weekend. And yeah, outside of that, listen to the 5-1 if you haven't already. The Post Media Summit, as we talked about earlier, is up on the Patreon feed as well. And yeah, we'll have one more Patreon show at the end of the month. Maybe have return into our current favourite year of 2001, Matty.
Yeah,
July time 2001 as well. That people might well guess what that is as well. But anything else to throw at Matty? Brett Show, other things to plug?
Brett Show will be coming up again. We're going to be recording, Gareth, aren't we, for the end of the month? We've got our next couple of shows, next 3 shows planned, Benno. We might actually announce one of the shows during one of the ones we record.
Okay.
So, yeah. We might actually do that, mate, coming up.
And then the demos will go up on your system.
But yeah, if anyone hasn't listened to the last one as well, please give that a listen, because I say, Gareth, was a good show, wasn't it, Gareth?
Oh, 100%. Like I say, like one of my all-time favourite matches, that one, Bret Hart and Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 8. So it was great to go and revisit that one. And then obviously the first ever WWF ladder match as well against my old mate Sean, who you've heard of. Hopefully at the start of this show you've heard about my love for Shawn Michaels as well. So you can hear a bit more about it on Bretro as well.
Brilliant. And yeah, just to say it on air, hopefully we'll have it out. Time is due, is it not, lads? That'll be coming up very soon.
It's coming up within the next month, Benno. Next month? Yeah, we'll be getting that down. Yeah, Liam's I think coming up with a playlist as we speak. He always does a great job with that, and so you're looking to jump on again, Benno.
See if there's a seat available, And I was going to make the joke. Yes, hopefully Simon will start that showtime at some point next couple of years. Once he gets there, he'll enjoy it. It's a cracking show. But yeah, maybe if he invites there, we'll see.
5-man booth.
We need to do a spin-off show, Timeless, where Simon reviews the episode of Time from 12 months ago that he's finally got round to listen to. Could be like one of those little like Talking Dead style offshoots or something like that.
Oh, that sounds good. And we're like we said on 5-1, we're absolutely doing a 5-1 of our 5-1s at some point. We will eat ourselves. We will get it. I'm excited for it. When you run out, that's what you do. But professional podcasters are going to professionally podcast. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Bit of an experimental show today. If you enjoyed it, do leave us a comment on the Spotify, the Discord, the Patreon, the YouTube, wherever you do viewers. If you want more where this comes from, patreon.com/grapple or youtube.com/@grapple, where you can get video versions of everything as well. Time After Time, that'll be a cracking title. There you go. Good shout to
Cindy Lauper.
There you go. Always a great song. But yeah, thank you folks for tuning in. Thank you live patrons, and thank you to our Kings of the Mountain, Carol Loughlin, Eddie Sarburns, Chris Platt, Ewan Cameron. Special thanks to Simon Mullaney and Steph Chase for joining us. We will catch you again next week.
Bye.
Thanks, Matt. Good night, all. I'll go with mine. It's probably going to be a predictable 5. Number 5, I was allowed to do a drink. Milk. I think it's the fucking grossest thing in the world, and you're all sick for liking it. Like, just picture where your milk comes from. Somebody gets under a cow and squeezes their udders out. Like, picture
I'd
just
squeeze them
drinking
in
it
my
straight from the
fucking face directly for it.
Oh, it's horrible. It's just horrible. The idea of it. What a sick, cannibalistic thing we do. We squeeze milk out of an animal that's not our own and drink it. Like, you all need to rethink your life choices. I've never passed it again. It stinks. So it's got to be my number 5. I just think it's fucking horrible. And I might as well get the heat out the way, because my number 4, you think that's bad? That's fucking a vegan cheese when it comes to dairy products. I think that's even worse in some ways, although it is my number 4 on my list. it's just like it's trying to chase the flavour of something that I don't like anyway, which throws me into my number 3, which is cream cheese, which is fucking a mystery cheese that'll appear on things at times when you're like, exactly. People don't tell you it's coming, and they add it to stuff and go, oh, you don't like cheese, Benno? Oh, you like cream cheese? No, it's still fucking horrible. Which leads me on to my number 2. Oh, it's dessert time. What are we having for dessert? Oh, about some cheesecake. We're gonna put some fucking cheese on a fucking cake. What are we doing as a society? I got tricked by that until my teenage years. My mum was like, it's not the same type of cheese, you know, Richard. Found out it fucking was. It's gross. And my number 1, guess what? Cheese. In general, all of it. It fucking stinks. It's horrible. It comes from the same cow, and there's something wrong with it, and I'm fucking sick of this society judging me. I didn't tell you this in the pre-show, Matty. I went to this amazing pizza place in Toronto. It was a bit like Subway, where like you go across like the station at the front, and you pick like your sauce, and then you pick your toppings, and they have millions of toppings that you could see that they pick out and put on. You could have as many as you wanted, and then it got to the end. What type of cheese do you want? And I was all, actually, the reason I came here is that I could just say no cheese. So I said no cheese, and the man in the shop, I'm not exaggerating, just started laughing at me in my face. And he wasn't laughing along with me. It wasn't us having a little intro. We hadn't built that rapport. He just laughed at me and carried on with his job and put it in the oven. And I was like, fuck you, man. That's why I tell people I'm allergic to cheese. That's why, because of people like him. It's fucking gross. You're all wrong. The other food's so great. I love everything else.
Amazing.